huge. That is a biggie. It's on.
गोल्ड प्लस क्लियर ग्लास, पार हो या नियर, सब कुछ दिखे क्लियर।
हेलो
हेलो,
बोलिए मैडम। डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा।
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसा हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है?
मैडम एक बात, खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
हेलो
हेलो,
बोलिए मैडम। डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा।
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसा हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है?
मैडम एक बात, खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit, a show that gets all your stock related queries answered. For viewers who are just tuning in, you can either call us or WhatsApp us on the numbers that are flashing on your screen. We've got our next caller for the day. Dheeraj is calling us from Hyderabad. Dheeraj, hi, a very good morning to you. How can we help you today?
Good morning, ma'am. I'm holding 200 shares of Infosys at 1570.
Okay.
So should I stick on to it or should I shift to something like Sriram Finance at current levels, ma'am, is my query. Could I get Samir Dalal sir's views on this one.
Got it, Dheeraj. I'll take this up with Samir quickly. Samir, considering the earnings yesterday, would you recommend Dheeraj to continue to hold Infosys or shift to something like a Shriram Finance?
So a decent set of earnings, but we've discussed in the past, my view on the IT sector is a little bit negative from the fact that we believe that single-digit top-line growth and maybe a low double-digit to a single-digit bottom-line growth does not justify PE multiples of 25x and 20x 2 years forward, respectively. So from that perspective, I think there's going to be a grind when it comes to the IT stocks. I don't think there's too much downside. If you ask me from here in stocks, I don't see them falling, but I don't, because these are cash-rich companies paying out good dividends, they'll come with a buyback and all of those kind of things will hold the stock up. But I don't see major upside potential. So when we invest in equities, we want to see capital appreciation, not only the dividend payouts. So from that perspective, I think it's better to take the money off from Infosys in the short term. Next 1 year, returns will be low. Should it be Shriram Finance that he invests in? Well, again, Shriram Finance valuations are expensive in the NBFC space. There are other NBFCs which are trading at better valuations, which can be looked at. But if he wants a pure between the two, I would say Shriram Finance is a better bet than an Infosys at this point of time.
Alright, and that's the take coming in as far as Shriram Finance then is concerned. Tell you what, let's also get Rajesh Bhosle, who's from Angel One, joining us on the show, technical analyst, of course. Rajesh, I wanted to come to you with the next question because we do have, and firstly, a very good morning to you. Hitesh from Mumbai is asking the next query. It's coming in on KFintech, 20 shares at an average buy price of about 1,300 rupees thereabout. He wants to know if it's a good time to average at this price.
Yeah, good morning. So if we see today, there's a sharp sell-off in KFintech. The stock is more than 5% down. And in fact, it's testing its crucial support around 1130 odd levels, which coincides with 200 EMA. But considering this volume-based sell-off, we expect further sell-off can be expected in the near term. Possibly the next support will be around 1030, which is its May swing low. So as of now, wait. If it slip further towards 1030, that is a strong base level. Around those level can be averaged.
Okay. The next question then is from Jassi, who is asking about Canara Bank. He's holding 50 odd shares, bought at 104 a piece. Wants to know if he can continue to hold for the next 2 odd years. Samir, I know the answer to this question, but you can go ahead and answer Jassi's query.
Yes, please go on. Hold on to it. If anything, add some more.
All right. Okay. So that's the view with regards to where Canara Bank stands. The next question is from Safi, who's writing us from Andhra Pradesh and got 750 odd shares of BLS. He's not mentioned if it's BLS International or BLS e-services. So I'll take the liberty and go ahead with BLS International. Rajesh, I'll come to you on this one. His buying price is 380 and wants to know if he can continue to hold.
So as of now, we are expecting further downside. Possibly the stock can retest its recent swing lows around 340. So from a short-term point of view, my view would be to exit from this counter because we don't expect major performance from this space.
Okay, so sell is the view that Rajesh has on BLS International, but one counter that has been in focus since yesterday is IEX. Yesterday on the back of the coupling norms, but today on the back of its earnings as well. And we have Somit joining us to help us understand as to what has happened in the past 2 days and take the conversation ahead with the management.
Well, let's actually take the conversation ahead with the management. Rohit Bajaj is joining us, the Joint Managing Director of IEX. So firstly, to start off with, market coupling, has this come as a surprise or you were expecting? Because I remember in the previous conference calls, management has been continuously saying that you were not expecting the government to go ahead and implement market coupling.
So, hi, good morning. Discussion was going on. There were some studies also done. Some of those studies also came out in public where it was seen that not much benefit is there of the coupling. So on that basis, we were maintaining that probably it will not happen. But now the order is there and order talks about initiating the process for implementation of market coupling only for day ahead market. So order also touch upon other segment, which is real-time market, where they say there is a lot of complexity and there is a very short time available because real-time market is something which operates 48 times in a day. It does the same thing which day ahead market does one time. So it's quite complex one where they said some more time is needed. Subsequently, it will be considered. So no decision as on yet on real-time market. Similarly, for other segment, they have said that stakeholder consultation would be needed, or in some other segment, the shadow pricing will be done. So the point here is the decision is about doing day-ahead market coupling, and decision. It also says that this is to be implemented by January 26. So, but we must see this particular segment, day-ahead market, in the overall mix that we have today. Sometime back, day-ahead market was the major contributor. But in the recent time, we have seen real-time market growth has been phenomenal. In fact, real-time market is one segment which was introduced in 2020. Within 5 years, it has emerged as a major segment today. Day-ahead market contribution has gone below 33%. It is about one third of the total transaction, and now the order is there in place. We feel that there is many things which are required to be done before implementation of the coupling. In fact, order also talks about it. Consultation is to be done. Regulations are to be amended. The technology engine is to be created. The settlement between exchanges are to be devised. So all these things are required to be done. So we will work to ensure that what regulator has said should be done, but we are not sure whether it can be done in such a short time frame. But impact is not going to be much because the day-ahead market itself is just one third of the total part. So there would be some impact definitely, but it is not going to be significant.
Right, sir. So there are few analysts on the street and their calculations suggest that if market coupling would have been implemented in FY25, then the full year EPS impact would have been around 30%. Would you concur to that? What is your internal calculation suggesting that how lower could your EPS go because of market coupling? What could be the impact, and what is the next step that IEX is looking for?
So I'm not in a position to give number to that extent, but I can tell you some fundamental things. We have been market leader for last 17 years. We have our technology is our strength. We have been able to serve our customer in a most efficient way. And precisely for this reason, market trusts us. And precisely for this reason, they have been with us for so long. So our take is, this might lead to increased competition in this particular segment. But since we have been doing it so well for so many years, we are better placed than others to deal with this. People, whether it is about people, the team that we have, whether it is about technology, these things are our strength, and we should be able to maintain our leadership position going forward. We are confident of maintaining our leadership position going forward. There could be few percentage points slippage in the competition due to competition, which might happen. But overall, we do not see any significant impact coming pure play on the basis of day-ahead market coupling.
So, sir, are you suggesting that...
and I don't go by this number that there could be 30% correction in EPS. 30% is the total size of day-ahead market. Right. So somebody who's suggesting 30% correction in the EPS, he's saying that we would be zero. So we are today 100%, and we are all set, and we have all the avenues to maintain that leadership position in this particular segment.
So, sir, are you suggesting that given the technology superiority that you have, your clients would not prefer to go on other exchanges, that is HPX and Power Exchange, and so there won't be any market share loss for you?
So I'm not saying that there cannot be any market share loss to us, but we are saying we are doing many things till now, and on that basis, we could maintain this. We are working with our stakeholders, different stakeholders, for deepening of the market. We have all the products that has been introduced in the recent past. All those products have been introduced by us before the competition, and we have technological edge. We have other edges in place. So there can be loss. I'm not denying there could be few points loss in the due to competition might happen, but we are confident of maintaining our leadership position even in this segment where we are talking about market coupling.
So, as you were mentioning that competitive intensity will increase, what is your view when it comes to transaction charges? Do you think that IEX will have to reduce transaction charges to maintain market share or to maintain the volume share here?
See, it would not be in the interest of anybody. In fact, all the other exchanges, we are financially stronger than anybody else. And I believe that it would not be in the interest of anybody to reduce that charge. In fact, if we compare our charges vis-a-vis the charges, the cap given for traders or for some other segment, it is 4 paisa is quite decently placed there. But having said so, There could be a few percentage point here and there which might happen, but we are not expecting any significant reduction in the transaction fee as well.
Also, sir, I wanted to understand, will you be looking to approach the higher court here, given the on this implementation of market coupling that CERC has done? Because earlier suggestions were that this will not result into much of a benefit. Still, CERC has gone ahead and implemented this. So, will you be approaching higher court? Will you be looking to get a stay on this?
So early days, we have not decided anything as of yet. We are still exploring the order, identifying, analyzing it completely, what sort of impact it can have. Not in a position to comment on that as of now.
I wanted to understand, sir, before this notification that has come in from CERC, you must have had multiple talks with your client. What was their suggestions? What were their feedbacks? Did they suggest, or did they anyway show any indication that they would switch to other exchanges if charges are lower? Any feedback on that front that has come in from the client side?
We are 17 years in the business, and in fact, the fee what we are charging is it is almost there for 10, 12 years now, even more than that, almost there for 15 years now. Now, we have not faced any such comments. In fact, if you look at the past certain things which where the regulator did something, there were certain stakeholder consultation. There also, there was no discussion around bringing down the fee. And we don't feel that this is a major concern. The electricity price varies between 5 to 6 rupees, and we are charging 2 paisa on the either side. And industry-wide, if you see, there are so many other places where the similar fees is being charged. So the customer is more worried about the quality, the kind of service that we provide, the kind of technology interface that we provide, the seamless connectivity which we can give to them so that their interaction with the market is there. They are more interested in deepening of the market. Generators are interested that there should be more buyers. Whatever they are able to produce, they should get sold. Similarly, buyers are interested whenever they need power, particularly in the peak hour, there should be ample liquidity so that they can buy. And precisely for this reason, all these years, we were working to ensure that market deepening should happen. And we take pride in saying so that in last 6-7 years, because of the all new segments that we introduced, overall market size has more than doubled. It has increased by 150% between 20 and 25. So I think those are the major concerns. And some of the stakeholder consultation in the past also revealed that all the stakeholders are more interested in deepening of the market, because even after 17 years of operations, our market still is in a nascent stage. We are just 8-9% of the total power which is consumed in the country. So a lot of room available for us to grow. And that is the kind of thing which is desired by the participants.
One last question on this market coupling. I believe your current market share would be around 80-85%. So what is that market share threshold that you will keep internally? And if the company's market share falls below that level, you would have to go ahead and cut prices or cut transaction charges. Any internal target that the company has set on the market share, that this is the benchmark market share that we need to keep in the industry?
You're right in saying so. Our market share is about 84-85%, and for last 2-3 years we have been maintaining this. And our focus was not on increasing market share, because focus was increasing the overall pie. We wanted to increase overall market so that everybody will have more transactions and the overall market should grow. That was the focus till now. But tomorrow going forward, if there is competition and such things are required, we might have to do that. So I'm not saying that we won't do it. Whatever is needed in the market, we should respond to that. And we are better placed. We are well placed to respond to the needs of the competition. We will definitely do. We will take care of all the stakeholders' interest. And at this point in time, saying at what point we will do that, it is again early days.
Right, sir. Last couple of questions on the Q1 numbers. The FY26 has started on a strong foot for the company. Profit was much ahead than what the street was expecting. Going forward, what are the key growth drivers that the company is looking at? How is the Indian gas exchange performance, carbon credit? What would be that key growth driver for IEX here?
Yeah, so numbers are quite decent, and this is despite the fact that overall demand in the country in Q1 was subdued. So if you look at the overall growth numbers for demand, electricity demand in the country, it was negative, minus 1.3%. But we managed to get 15% growth in electricity segment. Our volume grew by 150% in certificate segments. Our associate company did pretty well. In fact, IGX volume grew by 110%, and our consolidated profit grew by almost 25%. PAT grew by 25%. So these are good set of numbers in Q1. And as I mentioned, despite there was no growth in the overall electricity demand, going forward we expect. And why there was no growth? Because there was mild summer and there was early onset of the monsoon. But going forward, we expect that demand growth would be there, and we would be able to do better than what we did in Q1. In fact, if I talk about July number currently, by till now, our volumes are up by almost 25%. So we expect to do good numbers with somewhere in excess of 15% for year as a whole. And this is what we have been doing in the past, and we hope to maintain the momentum going forward.
Well, that would be all, sir. Thank you for joining us and explaining your view and the company's perspective about market coupling and on the Q1 results. With that, it's over to you, Shreyansi.
Well, absolutely. Let's take a look at some of the queries that we also have pouring in. In fact, the next one that we have is coming in for Rajesh from Seema, who's writing to us from Jodhpur, wants to know about IEX. She's also asked about why the market coupling news is so effective. I hope, Seema, that pretty much answers that question. But Rajesh, the question that she's asking is about 300 shares of IEX that she's purchased at a buy price of 210 rupees. What do you make of this one? Because she wants to know about whether or not her price will come back at this point. She's curious about the path to recovery for this.
So yesterday we saw a major breakdown with strong volumes, and generally, technically, if you see after such falls, generally the stock moves into a consolidation phase, and we do expect the same for the IEX. So possibly for next 3 to 4 months, the stock is likely to enter a consolidation phase, and we are not expecting any major outperformance. So possibly any bounce back towards 155, 160 zone, that is likely to act as a stiff resistance. So I would suggest to exit on any kind of bounce.
So that's the view where technicals are concerned for the counter. Our next caller, Kumar, is calling us from Bengaluru. Kumar, hi, a very good morning to you. How can we help you today?
Good morning. I have Shriram Finance of 338 shares. Should I buy or hold?
Okay. Kumar, I got your question. I'll take this up with Rajesh quickly because Samir has already answered that question. Rajesh, Shriram Finance, 300 odd shares at 677. He's already holding. Should he add more to average out or sell out right now?
As of now, momentum is on the downside, so avoid as of now. If it dips further towards 580, 585 levels, that would be strong support zone. Around those levels can be averaged.
All right, and that's the take coming in as far as Shriram Finance then is concerned. Tell you what, let's take the next query that is coming in. Sami, we have Rajesh who's writing to us from Bengaluru asking us about Gabriel India. Buy price at about 400 rupees for a quantity of 500 shares. He wants to know what you make of this particular counter with the next 3 years in mind.
So 3 years is of course a great time to stay invested, but again, the stock has run up quite a bit after the news that came of the amalgamation of the unlisted entities from the parent. So valuations are quite rich. Since you have a 3-year period, yes, you will make money because we believe the auto ancillary space is continuing to do well. The merged entity will have better operating leverage and all of those things. But a lot of that positivity for the next 1.5 years, I think, is priced in. Expect the stock to remain a bit range bound to a little negative in the short term, but long term, you could do well. So unfortunately, I can't tell you to book your profit right away and re-enter the stock lower because the tax you'll be paying will be far more than the price. I mean, let's assume you pay 12% tax on the profits that you book. You'll need to buy it maybe 150 rupees lower to actually earn something. So stay invested for the time being. But yes, don't expect any major move in the next 1 year.
Okay, thank you so much for that detailed answer, Samir, and congratulations because he's sitting on a profits of 3 lakh rupees. So that's a significant one out there. Continue to hold, Rajesh, to see more profits is the view that Samir has. Okay, the next question then is from Pakshal Jain, who is writing us from Bellary. His question is on Samvardhana Motherson. He's got 500 odd shares bought at 136 a piece. Wants to know if he can average at the current levels. Rajesh, your view on the charts?
So overall, if we see the stock is forming a bottoming out structure, so can hold on to it. If we see somewhere around 95, there is a strong support, and the high side, if we see 105, 106 has been the resistance, and once that is taken out, possibly 115, 120 would be the target. So as of now, hold on to it with a stop loss of 95.
Alright, then that's a stop loss of 95 in mind for that particular counter. Tell you what, let's take it across to the next caller that we have. We have Pradeep calling in from Bengaluru. Pradeep, hi, good morning. How can we help you?
Good morning, ma'am. I'm having 300 shares of Morpen Laboratories purchased at 41 rupees. Now I wanted to know whether I should book profits or whether I should hold it for another 1 or 2 years.
Alright, then Samir, I'll take it across to you. What do you think about Morpen Labs? 300 shares, buy price is about 41 rupees there.
I don't have coverage on this one. I'm so sorry.
Alright, Gaurav, I'll take it across to you. Of course, he is Rajesh. In fact, I'll take it across to you. Of course, we have a longer time frame in mind for this particular query. But what do you a chart check on this one, Morpen Labs?
So as of now, on the weekly chart, we are seeing bottoming out signs. With a stop loss of 56 can be held. On the high side, 66 to 67 is a resistance, that is 200 DMA and acting as a resistance. Once 67 is crossed, then positionally stock can move towards 80 levels. So technically, from a longer time perspective, 56 would be the stop loss and can be held.
Okay, Rajesh, I'll really ask my guest team to shift you from Friday for sure. It's 3 coffees now that we owe you. Very sorry for that. All right, it's time for the rapid fire round now. Samir and Rajesh, you know the drill. I'll take up as many queries as possible and you can keep the answers as short as possible. The first one is on NTPC Green. Venkat Raman wants to know whether he can continue to hold from a longer term perspective or not. Samir, your view?
Hold on, please hold on.
Okay, Shakti Pumps is the next counter. Siddharth is holding 250 odd shares at 894 a piece. Wants to know where technicals are concerned. Your view on this, Rajesh?
So hold on to it with 850 as a stop loss.
Okay, Dodla Dairy is the next counter. The person is asking whether to hold, buy or sell. Rajesh, on the charts?
So can exit expecting further weakness in the near term.
Okay, Deepak Nitrate is the next counter. Sumit from Bengaluru has 30 odd shares bought at 2961 a piece. Samir, your view from a longer term perspective?
From a longer term perspective, hold on. Near term will remain under some pressure.
Okay, MSTC is the next counter. Karamjot Singh is asking whether he can buy, sell or hold at the moment. He's already holding 550 shares at 667 a piece. Rajesh, on the charts?
So can hold on to it with a stop loss of 490.
Okay, BKG Foods is the next counter. The counter came out with its earnings day before yesterday. The buying price for Sasmati is 926 and 350 is the quantity. Samir, any view on BKG Foods? Should she continue to hold?
Yeah, continue to hold. In fact, do some averaging around the 740, 730 odd levels. I think there is value and growth.
Okay, Dilip Kumar is asking the next question and Gravita India is the counter. He's holding 1350 odd shares at 1865 a piece. Wants to know if he can hold or sell. Rajesh, on the charts?
So can hold on to it expecting targets of around 2000 levels.
Okay, LT Foods is the next counter. Aruna Kumari wants to know if she can buy for the next 2 odd years. Samir, your view?
Not at this price, no.
Okay, Restaurant Brands Asia is the next one. From a longer term perspective, Mohit from Ludhiana is asking, should he hold, sell or buy? Samir, your view?
Please buy some more.
Okay, please buy some more on Restaurant Brands Asia. All right, Samir and Rajesh, thank you so much for taking out the time and giving us all those insights today. And thank you so much for joining us at NDTV Profit.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of this show. Do enjoy your weekend and do stay tuned to NDTV Profit. More news and updates on the other side.
गोल्ड क्लास ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
हेलो, बोलिए मैडम। डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा।
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है।
मैडम एक बात को खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
हेलो, बोलिए मैडम। डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा।
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है।
मैडम एक बात को खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world.
Hello and welcome. You're watching KYC. I'm Harsh Sahita. Today we're going to be talking about a company which is recently listed but has given a stellar return to investors. We're going to talk to Sambhv Steel, understand what their numbers seem to suggest, what their guidance seems to suggest, but most importantly, there are some things which I really want to know, which I'm going to start off with. You know, what is it that I really want to know? What is the top line growth expectation like FY26 and thereon? They're currently at around 70% capacity utilization on their current capacity. Whether there is any expansion in the pipeline and what that growth expectation looks like over the next 2 to 3 years. So that's the first piece. The second one, with regard to what I want to know is the impact of the debt repayment on profit after tax, and thereafter what is therefore the sustainable PAT margin, because that's not a number where we have enough comfort that the PAT margin is going to look like maybe, for example, at 5% or 7% or 4%. We're seeing a variance there, and therefore we'll want to understand what the PAT margin will look like, and along with it what the EBITDA margin will look like. Now on the EBITDA margin front, the guidance is 13%. They've done 13% in Q1 FY26, but for the last few years they haven't done that. So I want to know what is it in terms of change in FY26 and beyond that they're looking at versus the current or the FY25 context. The fourth piece is with regard to competition, pricing and growth, and this is important because you're in a highly commoditized business, right, where pricing pressure will come, and if that happens, what happens to growth therefore? Where does the top line number go even if volumes inch up? PAT margins have compressed. We did speak about that. Will that at all unwind will be one question I'll want to know. And I want to also understand, working capital and receivables have gone up substantially over the last couple of years. Is that in the normal course of business? Is that how they look at it? So will operating cash flow always be 80% or so of EBITDA, which has been the case for the last couple of years? Or can we see an unwind over there? Because you want to understand whether there's an upside surprise. Last off, now after this kind of a rally, and I've not written it here, I want to understand where do valuations go. So once we speak with the management, we'll get better perspective of that. But let's talk about the company. Let's start off with what the company does. It's a manufacturer of ERW, which is electric resistant welded pipes and tubes. These are typically used across India. You'll see it on construction sites that you would have typically visited or you would have seen from the outside, and you'll see it in terms of agriculture where water is getting transported in electric or steel pipes and structural tubes. There's a huge demand for that where India is concerned. Company was incorporated in 2017, got listed less than a month ago on 2nd of July 2025. The IPO price was 82 rupees. Currently it trades at 140 rupees a piece in terms of the stock price. So clearly we've seen huge traction where the stock price is concerned. It even listed at a large premium and thereafter has run up. Steel manufacturing is in Raipur, but moreover in Chhattisgarh more than Raipur, and even in terms of the backward integration that they've done, sponge iron is what they've backward integrated, billets, HR, CR coils as well as pipes. So across the board they are well integrated from a backward integration perspective. They also generate some of their own power, which also has a capacity utilization of nearly 90%. So some things to keep in mind. It's one of the leading ERW steel pipe makers and of pipes, tubes and value-added products. And it has extensive relationships with Indian distributors, dealers, and has also a direct customer base. It continuously seeks to expand capacity. Stainless steel, GP pipes and special grades is what they are diversifying to. They are serving construction, infra, auto, OEMs. Well, in the auto space, talk about exhaust pipes. They are one of the manufacturers there. Industries, process industries and retail. So they're across the board. Let's talk about some intermediate products which also they manufacture to enable them to manufacture the finished product as well. So within the intermediate products, there's sponge iron, which is used as a refined feedstock in steel making. They've got blooms and slabs, which are semi-finished, mild and stainless steel products. They have HR coils, which is hot rod coils, which are mild steel and stainless steel coils produced using advanced technology. You have cold roll coils, and then you have galvanized plain coils. So all of those are used in the manufacture of the finished product. Now in terms of the finished product, also they have certain specific products which they make. ERW black pipes, which is electric resistant welded pipes. GI pipes, which are more zinc coated but they are essentially ERW pipes itself. GP pipes, which is pre-galvanized pipes. Steel door frames is also what they make. SS HRAP coils also is something they make. SSCR coils, which is cold roll coils, is what they make. And cotton steel pipes. So across the board, that is their presence in terms of finished product, but largely in the pipe segment, and therefore that gives you better context on what their competition also looks like and will help us understand valuations as well. Now, where do they sell and how do they sell? They have 43 distributors as of FY25 year end, 700 distributors and retailers covering pan-India markets. So that's on the retail side of things. They have direct clients as well. Their direct clients are in construction and infra space, government organizations, steel manufacturers, as well as other manufacturers, and their end use sectors, retail customers, OEMs, contract manufacturers, fabricators. So across the board, that's how it plays out. In terms of industry-wise sales, traders, distributors are the largest piece of the sale pie, where the revenue comes from. Steel manufacturers are the other ones. Then there are infra companies and manufacturers, which also account for a very, very small part, but nonetheless are still there. Now, in terms of the top states, they are present in Maharashtra, which is where a large part of their revenue comes from. The largest revenue concentration is Maharashtra, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh. They do have a presence, but Madhya Pradesh is the other state where they do have, or their top sales come from. So that is one of the states where the top sales come from. So that is all about the company. Now let me try and break this down and try and get you the metrics which we'll track with regard to a Sambhv Steel. Thereafter, we will try and speak with management and get better perspective. Let me start off. Income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, return ratios, shareholding, street cred, outlook and valuations. We don't have street coverage yet materially. It's a 4,200 crore market cap company, just for perspective. Let me start off now with the income statement, and when you look at the income statement, you will see a tapering down of the margin picture. While Q1 FY26 margins have inched up, we saw margins inch down all the way from FY22 to FY25. So that's been the picture where margins is concerned, and therefore profitability also hasn't really grown. And so those two pieces, but what you've seen is revenue growth of 23%. So your top line has continued to grow in a fairly healthy fashion over the last 3-year CAGR period. You're looking at margins which were 15% in FY22, down to 13, down to 12, now down to 10 in FY25, and inching back upwards towards 13% in FY26 Q1. That's the picture with regard to the income statement. What you want to know is they've guided for 13% sustainable margin. We want to test that sustainability a little bit before we conclude that. Let's look at the balance sheet now. And in terms of the balance sheet, of course, the fresh equity raise has happened. That's not reflecting on the FY25 financials, mind you. So that's something you want to keep note of. You look at the book value is around 500 crore in terms of book value, excluding Q1, excluding the fundraise. So those two things to be excluded. The borrowing number, and therefore that price to book currently, we haven't determined that, but broadly would be 1:4, because your book value is roughly 1,000 crore, including the fundraise, and you will therefore have a price to book of around 4:1. When you're looking at the borrowing number, it's at 358 crore at the end of FY25, but they have likely repaid a large part of that already. What they had suggested as part of the IPO was that they're going to use 390 crore out of the 440 crore fresh fundraise to pay off the borrowing. So likely that borrowing number will either entirely or to a large extent not exist. Your cash and bank balance as of FY25 was 16 crore. That will likely inch upwards by the time we get the balance sheet for H1 FY26. So that's how likely it will read, but we'll have to wait and watch. But at the moment, this is how the balance sheet stacks up. It's a healthy balance sheet. If the borrowing is completely repaid, there's very little concern where the balance sheet is concerned. So we'll move on very quickly to cash flow. In terms of the cash flow, you look at the cash flow from operating activity to EBITDA. That EBITDA number, of course, and that ratio CFO to EBITDA is looking anything between 80 to 90% for FY24 and 25. Now, what has happened? FY24, your receivables have inched up, so has your inventory by a mild bit. FY25, your inventory has inched up substantially. You want to understand how quickly that unwind happens. Working capital items also are adding up to on the balance sheet, and therefore is causing a bit of a drag where operating cash flow is concerned. We'll have to wait and understand as to exactly what's happening there, and we will quiz management with regard to that. Obviously, no past commentary available, and therefore we haven't been able to understand this as well because we don't have enough explanations, but we will ask management. Now, let me talk about ratios, and the return ratios again will reflect that there's a steady downtick. Look at the way in which return ratios have come off, and likely they will continue to come off because you have an equity raise which has come in as well. So that return ratio will continue to be under pressure unless margins bounce back substantially. So this will of course be determined by the way in which margins bounce back, but still it's double digit, and therefore we've given it a neutral where return ratios is concerned. Shareholding, very quickly, the promoters hold 56% even now. You have the FI holding at around 3.5%, DI is at around 7%, the public holds around 33%. That's how it stacks up. It's a decent shareholding, there's nothing to complain about. Street cred. Now, in terms of where the street cred is concerned, this is fascinating. Listing return was 34% to IPO for those who were lucky enough to get the IPO. And thereafter as well, the stock is up 30%. So you've seen fabulous returns where the stock price is concerned. And it seems, at least at the moment, that plenty has been left on the table for the retail investor. So little to complain. But the question therefore goes to valuations. Valuations now at 75 times, nearly 75 times price to earnings, looks a tad bit expensive if they aren't able to map or match it with the kind of growth that possibly the street is penciling in. So we want to understand where growth goes, we want to understand where margins go, all of that. Last off, the outlook. And in terms of the outlook, let's quickly bring it up. In terms of the outlook, that was the issue size, 540 crore, 440 was a fresh issue, offer for sale was 100, repayment of debt was 390 crore, right? We spoke about a lot of these factors. They're expecting margins of 12 to 13% for the next 1 to 2 years, what thereafter, right? Top line growth guidance hasn't been provided, frankly, so we don't have that. In terms of future growth guidance, they are expecting utilizations of around 75%, currently sitting at 70% for the pipe segment. The galvanized pipes will likely drive future growth, is what they have suggested. So that's with regard to, and backward integration in HR coils insulates from market fluctuations. Of course, a lot of that backward integration insulates them from margins getting diluted significantly. There's a 10-year agreement with Coal India for the supply of coal at a fixed price, and therefore raw material costs to a certain extent are hedged. Now, let's quickly look at all the ratings and arrive at the final rating for a Sambhv Steel. Income statement neutral, balance sheet is a thumbs up if that debt has been fully repaid, which is what the management has said that they will do as part of the IPO documentation. Cash flow neutral, return ratios neutral, more to be seen across the board. Shareholding is a thumbs up, 56% held. Street cred, good value left on the table for investors. Outlook is also decent, more to be seen and to be assessed. And then you have valuations, which are certainly looking expensive. So 5 out of 8 on our KYC ratings. Let's bring in our guests for this morning. We have Mr. Vikas Goyal, Managing Director and CEO, Sambhv Steel, and Bikash Agarwal, who's the Chief Strategy Officer at Sambhv Steel. Let me start with you, Mr. Goyal. Give us a perspective on where the top line growth goes maybe over the next 2 to 3 years, because that guidance is what the street really is looking out for. And what will drive that growth? How will your product mix shift?
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you for inviting us.
It's a pleasure.
Great opportunity. Yeah. Just you seen the first quarter results. Our revenue is like 550 crores around. and the full year is just into 4. And we are expanding our product line in the stainless steel in this year. तो उसको आपको 27 में उसका ग्रोथ देखने मिलेगा, जो यहाँ से 20% होगा लगभग। 28 में जो हम एक नया प्लांट यूनिट 3 हम लगाने जा रहे हैं, जिसमें हम 1.2 मिलियन टन का प्लांट है हमारा फिनिश प्रोडक्ट का, उसको 3 फेजेस में करेंगे। तो फर्स्ट फेज जो हमारा 27 के एंड में शुरू होगा, तो 28 की बात करूं तो यहाँ से हमारा ग्रोथ लगभग 100% का ग्रोथ हम प्लान कर रहे हैं, जो 26 के अराउंड, जो अभी यहाँ से into 4 उसके बाद into 2। तो ये हमारा ग्रोथ प्लान है इन द टर्म्स ऑफ रेवेन्यू। इन टर्म्स ऑफ अगर मैं बात करूं कि सेगमेंट कैसा होगा, तो अभी हमारा 30% के आसपास स्टेनलेस स्टील होगा इस साल, अगर पूरे ईयर की बात करें, और नेक्स्ट ईयर वो होगा 40%, और 28 में हो जाएगा वो 50% के आसपास स्टेनलेस स्टील का रेशियो हो जाएगा हमारा। तो ये हमारा अभी तक का ग्रोथ प्लान है, और हम लगातार क्वांटिटी एक्सपांशन पे लगे हुए हैं। और एबिटा पर टन भी हमने जो अचीव किया है फर्स्ट क्वार्टर में, लगभग 8,000 रुपीज पर टन, इसी के आसपास हम, और इससे अच्छा ही हम आगे अचीव कर पाएंगे, ऐसा हमें लगता है।
समझ गया। सो विकास सर, हमें ये बताइए कि आपका जो करंट 1500 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन है, वो FY26 में आपने कहा कि डबल होगा, कि 30% का ग्रोथ होगा। और सर हमें एब्सोल्यूट नंबर बताइए। सॉरी, मे बी मुझे क्लैरिटी नहीं मिला आपके जवाब से। 1500 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन FY26 में कहां जाता है, FY28 में कहां जाता है?
अगर आप 26 का देखेंगे तो हमारा फर्स्ट क्वार्टर का रेवेन्यू है 558 करोड़ into 4 is equal to 2,200 करोड़। तो इट्स अराउंड 2,300 करोड़।
हाँ जी।
28 में into 2, जस्ट हम कैपेसिटी को, हमारी स्टेनलेस स्टील की कैपेसिटी को 200% कर रहे हैं, और पाइप कैपेसिटी को 50% के साथ हम उसको इंप्रूव कर रहे हैं।
सर, सो आपका जो 2200 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन FY26 का है, वो 4500 करोड़ का टॉप लाइन होगा FY28 तक। ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग क्लियर? ओके। अभी सर हमें ये बताइए कि इतनी डिमांड है कि कंपटीशन बड़ी तरीके से आपके साथ compete करेगा, जिसके वजह से आपके रियलाइजेशंस पे कुछ असर होगा, ये हमें बताइए।
सर देखिए, 2 तरीके से है डिमांड। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ग्रोथ जो है, अगर इंडिया की आप देखेंगे तो 8 to 10% के आसपास है, और जो स्टेनलेस स्टील की डिमांड है, अगर आप क्रिसिल की रिपोर्ट देखेंगे तो 15% CAGR से है, और पाइप एंड ट्यूब्स की भी डिमांड लगातार इंडिया में बढ़ रही है। तो हम तो जो स्टेनलेस स्टील जो आज इंपोर्ट होता है इंडिया में, हम तो मेक इन इंडिया की पॉलिसी पे उसको भारत में बना के बाहर से इंपोर्ट रोकने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं। तो वो अगले उसके 2-3 सालों में बहुत अच्छी ग्रोथ आने वाली है, और इस साल भी देखेंगे तो बहुत अच्छी ग्रोथ है डिमांड की। तो डिमांड में हमें कहीं कोई कमी नहीं लगती किसी भी तरीके से, ना पाइप एंड ट्यूब्स में, ना स्टेनलेस स्टील में। दूसरी हम बात करें कि हमारा सस्टेन कैसे होगा, तो वी आर इन द छत्तीसगढ़, जो कि मिनरल रिच स्टेट है। तो हमारा रॉ मटेरियल जो है आयरन ओर एंड कोल यहाँ पे बहुतायत में अवेलेबल है हमारे पास में। इंडिया एशिया की सबसे बड़ी कोल माइंस है, इंडिया का हाईएस्ट ग्रेड ऑफ आयरन और NMDC यहाँ पे है। तो वो हमारे पास में बहुत बड़ी क्वांटिटी में अवेलेबल है, तो हम इसको बहुत अच्छे से इस टारगेट को फुलफिल कर पाएंगे, ऐसा हमें लगता है।
समझ गया। मिस्टर अग्रवाल, मैं आपके यहाँ पे आता हूँ अभी। मुझे ये बताइए, फर्स्टली वेलकम, मुझे ये बताइए व्हाट गिव्स यू द कंफर्ट विथ रिगार्ड टू मार्जिन्स? आपका जो 12 to 13% मार्जिन गाइडेंस है, आपने 1 से 2 साल का यू हैव गिवन अस अ गाइडेंस फॉर। How sustainable is that number, and what gives you the comfort on that?
So if you see, as you also rightly pointed out, that we are fully backward integrated, so the variability and the shock on margin will be less for a player like us, where we are fully integrated in stainless steel segment also and ERW pipe segment also. So basically the shock is coming from raw material procurement, that is coal and iron ore. In our projection, we believe in near term or in near future, the price variability or the price deviation will not be more. So our guidance on margin, we believe, is very fair and will consistent in coming or near future. That's what we believe currently.
Got it, sir. Sir, what is the downside risk of? Are you doing any capex, Mr. Agarwal? Because if you're doubling capacity, how much of capex will you do? How will you fund it? Give us that perspective first.
So as as we have pointed out in many of our presentation and all, we are doing an capex of 1.2 million end-use product capacity, which will be executed in 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. In phase 1, we will be adding 1,80,000 ton of pipes and tubes and 1,80,000 of stainless steel product. Now the land is already being acquired. The 1.2 entire capacity rolling mill is already being imported. We have received Gram Panchayat and public hearing is already being done in terms of approval. We are in the final stage of designing. Certain advances for our capital good, where the long lead period of delivery is there, is already being done. So we expect the project to be delivered. The first phase of Unit 3 will be delivered by end of financial year 2027. The entire estimation of capex to be incurred, we will be giving the guidance in coming months. So currently we are in a final stage of designing and final stage of estimation. So we will be giving the guidance in the coming quarter, sir.
So how will you fund it, sir? Because a large part of what you... Please go ahead.
So if you see, we are virtually debt free currently.
Yes.
So we are saving a lot of money. We have actually utilized our money towards our repayment of debt. So we are saving a lot of interest costs. So our free cash flow for capex is available to the tune of, let's say, in and around 20 crore rupees per month. So entire money we plan to utilize in our capex. So the capex will be of the mix of debt and certain part of internal accrual.
Got it. So
yeah.
How much debt will you take?
Currently, it is in the final estimation stage. In the coming months, we will be giving the entire guidance on the debt and equity ratio, sir.
Okay. But broadly, if you can give me a broad number, will it go back to 300 crore? Will it be lesser than that? Will it be 200? Will it be 100?
Definitely. So if I give you a thumb rule, on an enterprise level, our debt will be always below 0.5 of our equity base.
Got it.
That's what I can currently disclose to you.
Got it. So less than 500 crore. Completely understood.
Less than 500 crore.
Completely understood. Okay, let me come to you. Mr. Goya, let me come to you. So you're going to do around 4,500 crore of top line by FY28. Will your margins, what is the margin comfort that you have, and what is your cost of debt, so that I can arrive at your PAT margin? Otherwise, sir, it's tough to arrive at that PAT margin number.
देखिए, कॉस्ट ऑफ डेट तो हमारा, जैसे अभी हमने जो आईपीओ से फंड रेज किया, हमने हमारा सारा लॉन्ग टर्म डेट सारा रिपेमेंट कर दिया, कुछ शॉर्ट टर्म डेट भी हमने रिपेमेंट किया है। तो हमारा जो डेट रिपेमेंट या डेट कॉस्ट बहुत कम हो जाएगी। जो अगर आप लास्ट क्वार्टर में देखेंगे कि जो फर्स्ट क्वार्टर में हमने डेट हमारा का जो इंटरेस्ट था लगभग 17 करोड़ था, इसमें से लगभग 10 से 11 करोड़ हमारा कम हो जाएगा पर क्वार्टर। तो 5 से 6 करोड़ ही हमारा डेट पर मंथ जो हमारा रिपेमेंट बचेगा इन द इंटरेस्ट उसमें, तो वो हमारे पर बर्डन कम होगा। और ये जो ग्रोथ इंडिया की है और स्टेनलेस स्टील की बेसिकली अगर मैं बात करूं तो उसकी डिमांड बहुत ज़्यादा है। जो डिमांड हम पूरी नहीं कर पाएंगे, कुछ ही कंपनियां जो फ्लैट प्रोडक्ट्स में काम कर रही है स्टेनलेस स्टील में, वही मार्केट से आज इंपोर्ट होगा, नहीं तो हम पूरी मार्केट की डिमांड को कैप्चर करने का हम प्रयास कर रहे हैं।
Got it. Sir, I have only 10 seconds. आपका रिटर्न रेशियो क्या होगा सर? स्टेडी स्टेट आप इतना केपेक्स कर रहे हो, हमें ये तो बताइए रिटर्न रेशियो का क्या टारगेट है?
रिटर्न रेशियो अगर आप हमारे 4 साल का रिकॉर्ड देखेंगे तो लगभग लास्ट ईयर को बस छोड़ के 20% के आसपास रहा है। तो इसी के आसपास ही हमारा आरओसी।
तो लास्ट ईयर क्या हुआ सर? लास्ट ईयर क्या हुआ वो बताइए।
लास्ट ईयर देखिए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हमने काफी कैपेक्स भी किया, और दूसरा जब कैपेक्स किया तो हमारे पास में काफी हमने मनी भी अर्न की और उस पर इक्विटी भी हमने रेस की। तो और हमारा जो स्लगिश ईयर भी आप बोल सकते हैं, लास्ट ईयर स्टील के लिए स्लगिश ईयर था, जहाँ पे मार्जिन थोड़े से डाउन थे। लेकिन जो अगर हमारा फर्स्ट क्वार्टर आप देखेंगे तो हमने आरओसी लगभग 21% किया है, और इसी के इन अराउंड हम आगे भी। लेकिन जब प्रोजेक्ट फेस में होते हैं तो आरओसी थोड़ा सा लो होता है, लेकिन 28 में आपको इसे बहुत अच्छा अचीव दिखेगा हमारा, जब हमारा ये जो 28 का कैपेक्स पूरा हो जाएगा। तो हमारा टारगेट तो यही है कि हम गोइंग फॉरवर्ड ईयर्स में 20% के आसपास हमारा आरओसी अचीव करें, लेकिन जब कैपेक्स में होंगे तो थोड़ा सा आपको ये लोअर दिखेगा।
समझ गया। थैंक यू सो मच सर। आप दोनों के थैंक यू सो मच। आप आके हमें बहुत कैंडिडली, बहुत ऑनेस्टली हमें सारी चीज़ें बताई है। वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग कंपनी व्यूअर्स, बिकॉज इफ top line is going to grow from 1500 crore to 4500 crore. Certainly something you should keep on your radar. Of course, you want to do your own math with regard to this one. But completely out of time on this edition of KYC. From myself, everyone who puts the show together, thanks so much for watching.
तू ही तो है जिसकी सच्चाई वाली क्लैरिटी की वजह से मैं आज यहाँ हूँ।
गोल्ड प्लस सिल्वॉक्सी मिरर्स, ऐसी क्लैरिटी कि आपको सिर्फ सच नजर आए, चाहे कितने भी साल बीत जाएं।
Welcome viewers. This is a call for Disruptor show flight dated 25th July.
During my childhood days, we used to rely on rations. My mom used to tell me, go and stand in the queue immediately. Queues is something which I think every Indian is used to.
You've come from this background where you've had to stand in queue for rations. How do you become the CEO of Dijatra?
Why should there be so much of friction in availing a service? And from that perspective, I think this whole thought process of Dijatra began. We were asked, right, to write a memorable journey experience for the passenger. And I wrote this very simple story saying that, passenger just walks through all the touch points and nobody stops him or her for anything.
The initial teething troubles, talk a bit about that, including the vendor that you had for the back end of this entire process. There were questions on transparency. There were a lot of questions on safety. Why should I give my biometrics to a government agency?
We ran the startup challenge. We had a 6 startup shortlist. 2 of them were offered to build. One of them went ahead and built this ecosystem. And yes, we had a parting of ways.
हेलो
बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा।
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है।
मैडम एक बार को खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the
Good afternoon. You're watching Markets at 12 with me, Shreyanshi Singh. First things first, let's take a look at the markets, and the Nifty is not managing to hold on above that 25,000 level, slipped below those levels. And when you take a look at the sectoral picture as well, not looking good at this point in time. So the Friday cheer has in fact managed to elude Dalal Street. So you do have media, defense, energy, metal, auto, exactly in this order. Those are the list of your top sectoral laggards. What's holding up quite well, or just holding up a little bit with a tinge of green, is your pharma sector, 0.2% uptick coming in for that one. And you do have the list of top losers as well: Bajaj Finance, Shriram Finance, Bajaj Finserv, as well as IndusInd Bank and Bajaj Auto making it to that list. But tell you what, we're in the thick of the earnings season. Let's decode the earnings of Indigrid then with the management. In fact, we have Harsh Shah, who's the managing director of the company, joining us on the show. Harsh, thank you so much for joining us, and a very good afternoon to you. First things first, I wanted to get a sense on your revenue as well as your EBITDA. What is the picture that you're seeing there? We've seen quite the move coming in on both of these parameters. What do you make of this move that we've seen in the first quarter?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. On terms of both revenue and EBITDA, while the EBITDA looks to be reduced by 8%, I think that's largely on account of one-off breakdown that we faced on a solar thermal power plant, where we had a breakdown in the turbine, which has been restored now. So I would say that's a one-time impact that we have seen, and that's why the quarterly revenue was lower than what we would have envisaged otherwise. Otherwise, we are on track to achieve our annual guidance on the DPU on the back of the current projects.
Shah, Varsha, this side, pleasure to have you. Mr. Shah, the provisioning for investment manager fees from recently, acquisition contributed to the 8.2% year-on-year EBITDA decline. Now, can you clarify how this fee structure impacts current period profitability, and what would be the normalized EBITDA margin would have been without this impact?
Sure. I think there are two impacts in the EBITDA. The fee is a very smaller impact. The investment manager receives about 50 bips of fee as a one-time acquisition incentive fee. So that means for the asset that we have acquired, Renew Solar Urja, for that there will be approximately 10 crore or 11 crore provision on account of this acquisition, or 10 to 12 crore provision. And that's the only one-time impact, and therefore it hits this quarter. And otherwise it's not there. So I would say for a normalized basis, you can increase that by 12 crore. That's first adjustment. However, the greater fall is on account of one-off breakdown that I spoke on a solar thermal power plant, which would be in the tune of almost 30 odd crores. So that's the bigger one-off breakdown impact that we are seeing in this quarter. And fee is, as I said, is approximately 10 to 12 crores, which is one-off.
Understood. And also, Mr. Shah, so while DPU is up, 6.7% year on year, and which is in line with the guidance that you gave, NDCF saw a decline. Now, can you reconcile this difference and explain the factors that allowed for DPCU growth despite the NDCF decline? I'm sorry.
No worries. I think one thing is that when there's a EBITDA reduction, obviously the amount of cash flow we'll earn will reduce to that extent. However, the second impact, which is on a quarter-on-quarter basis, usually there is movement in quarter-on-quarter basis in terms of collection cycle. If one looks at quarter 4 collections, they were substantially higher, and therefore typically quarter 1 collection goes down a little bit lower, and therefore quarter 1 NDCF is typically lower than quarter 4, and then we see a drop. And then by the time quarter 4 comes, we catch up and increase the NDCF collections, and therefore NDCF catches up. So we prefer to look at it on an annual basis, and to mitigate the quarter-on-quarter impact of NDCF, we typically carry something called NDCF reserve with us. For this quarter closing, we have NDCF reserve up to the tune of 555 crores. And that reserve does exactly this, that the quarter-on-quarter volatility on account of either such breakdowns or weather or cash flow collection can be mitigated and streamlined so that investors keep getting the DPU that was projected. So in this quarter, we have drawn part of the reserve from the reserve for the NDCF and still met our projected DPU of 4 rupees. In the subsequent quarter, as we get back on, as our plants are running an operation, as well as the collection cycle gets normalized, we will receive higher cash flow and will replenish the NDCF reserve we used. And this is the use of the NDCF reserve, and we keep at least a quarter or two of NDCF reserve with us at any point in time.
Then, Mr. Shah, you've shared that sort of strategy when it comes to the cash flow, but I also wanted to get a sense of whether or not you had a number in mind. Is there a trajectory that you could help us out with in terms of a number when it comes to the cash flow in terms of the outlook?
Sure. I think very simple one. On an annual basis, we have guided the market for 16 rupees a DPU. And that's something which will be a guidance for the entire year. So we're confident that we'll end up achieving that DPU. And there are enough factors, enough cushions in place, enough plans in place already to deliver that. So we are confident of achieving the cash flow which gives 16 rupees DPU. In terms of our track record, we have grown that year-on-year basis approximately 3 to 5% over the last 7 years. And therefore, we do see in future also we work towards increasing the DPU as we go about adding more projects, acquire more projects, or build more projects. Having said so, to answer the first question, we are pretty much on track of achieving a 16 rupees a DPU guidance for this year. And that will be coming from the assets that we currently own and generate cash flows.
Right. And Mr. Shah, the BESS project, from SJVN, which is a significant step into the greenfield, just wanted to know what is the detailed roadmap for this project, including the estimated project cost or funding plan and targeted commissioning timeline, if you could, give us all the details.
Certainly. So BESS is a very interesting segment. We entered 2.5 years ago. And our first project is commissioned already in Delhi, which I would say a model project. That got commissioned in March this year, which was exactly on time and schedule and in budget. That was funded by GAP. And that project is doing very well, generating returns as we had envisaged for. The second project on BESS that we have is in Gujarat and Rajasthan. Both projects are on track. Put together, they add approximately 900 megawatt hour of capacity. And they'll be coming online in March 26 and June 26 respectively. And we have done the ordering for them and they are on track for that. Put together, capex for them put together will be around 15 to 1600 odd crores. Our JV entity, Indigrid, also won another 750 megawatt hour concession with SJVN and costing approximately 800 odd crores. So we are confident that that will also come on track. So in the next 2 years, we are hoping to build this capacity to almost 1.5 gigawatt hours of capacity for just battery energy storage capacity.
Mr. Shah, my last question, before I let you go, with with this 2 acquisitions.
And the assets are already integrated. We have closed the acquisition. Assets are linked to our portfolio assets now. We do see synergy because the first asset of renewable asset, 300 megawatt, is very next to one of the 300 megawatt asset that we own. And that gives clear synergy. And the generation of the earlier assets have also been pretty much on track. So we are hoping that this is going to be immediately adding revenue and NDCF accretion to our portfolio. And same for transmission asset that we acquired, Gopal Narendra. That asset is also close to our current asset base in southeastern India. And that's something which is already integrated the grid and in our portfolio.
Right.
So it started to generate now.
Got it. Thank you so much, Mr. Shah, for taking time out and joining us this afternoon. Tell you what, an important update coming in. Rani Kapoor, the mother of late Sanjay Kapoor, who was the chairman of Sona Comstar, seeks deferment of the annual general meeting that was scheduled for today. In fact, Puneet is joining in with those important details.
Well, thank you for that. This is a very, very key story breaking in on the stock that's been in news now. Rani Kapoor, the mother of late Sanjay Kapoor, who just recently passed away, he was at the helm of Sona BLW, and she has come out and put a statement and she's written to the board seeking deferment of the annual general meeting, which was scheduled today on 25th July of 2025. The key aspect is she's alleged coercion, misuse of documents and attempts to usurp family legacy. after her son's death, and this comes at a very critical time because we've just seen a couple of changes in the management. Mr. Vivek Singh, who is the current MD, has been elevated to the position, and they are looking at moving ahead with this key aspect. And that was the discussions that were happened in the conference call recently as well. We're still awaiting the Q1 numbers for the company, where some more details might come in of what the company is looking to do in terms of filling these key positions. But this is largely a very, very key and developing story for Sona BLW because it seemed at that point of time that we will have a smoother transition going forward. And with this key updates happening today, it will be important to see how the family decides to move forward, because this was a merger between Sona Comstar, which was the earlier and the legacy company over the last 30 years, and hence while this is a developing story and we'll be getting key more developments, that will be something to watch out for. So we'll be getting you key more updates on this, but this definitely will put the stock in focus, which has been impacted amongst other things by the tariffs in US, as well as what the company has been doing to transition away just from a very EV centric focus. But for now, a lot of key developments are moving in, and if there is any kind of family dispute that could be arising out of this, that'll be other thing to watch out for.
Well, absolutely. This is a developing story, and as of now, thank you so much, Puneet, for getting us that update there. The stock, in fact, is taking it on the chin at this point in time, down about 1.9%. That's Sona BLW that I'm talking about. You do have Rani Kapoor, who's asked for this, who's written to the board, in fact, seeking this deferment of the AGM that was scheduled for July 25th. You did have Puneet talking about this, and she's also alleged coercion, misuse of documents, as well as attempts to usurp the family legacy after her son's death. A very important update that we have coming in as far as Sona BLW is concerned. This is a developing story. We'll keep getting you some more details on your screens. Of course, you can see the stock as well that is down at this point in time, and in fact, you've seen the stock taking a sharper hit, down anywhere between 1.9 to about 2% at this point in time, as you can see on your screens as well. Almost close to that day's low as well. That's Sona BLW on the screens for you as well. So very important updates. We'll keep getting you some more updates as far as this particular story is concerned, because this is definitely a developing story, and you do have those very important allegations of coercion that you do have that have been made. And you, in fact, of course, we'll get you some more developments shortly, but it's very important to note that the deferment she's in fact alleged coercion, misuse of documents as well, and attempts to usurp family legacy after her son's death. In fact, Puneet, help us out with some more details. Of course, this is a developing story. We're waiting for some more details. Is there anything else that you can also add on at this point in time?
Well, yes, definitely. And, there are a couple of other key aspects. Within the letter, she's, mentioned specifically that she's the former chairperson of the company and the wife of late Surinder Kapoor, who was a husband and father of Sanjay Kapoor. She's gone on to say at this time that, by virtue of the will, which was dated on 30th June of 2025, executed by her late husband, she is the sole beneficiary of his estate, and accordingly, also a majority shareholder of Sona Group, including this particular company. She's also gone on to say that her son tragically passed away on 12th of June of 2025, and he has and the key aspect of it is they have been unable to receive any kind of relevant answers as well as any kind of documents from the board specifically explaining this particular incident as well. And there's a couple of other key aspects that she's mentioned, that she's approached the board multiple times and compelled to sign various documents without explanation at this point of time. And despite being under immense distress from this particular incident that she's highlighted, these documents were signed behind locked doors. So there's a lot to unpack from this particular story as well. But these seem to be serious allegations, as well as key updates that Rani Kapoor has provided in the letter to the board. It'll be important to see what kind of updates the Sona BLW decide to do about this, as the letter visible on your screen right now. It's going to be important if they decide to defer the AGM that's slated today as well. But definitely a lot more updates coming from this particular letter.
Puneet, I'm joining in on this conversation as well. This is turning out to be a massive family drama of a very, very highly valued company coming soon after the shock demise of Sanjay Kapoor in the United Kingdom. Now, Rani Kapoor, his mother, is making these allegations at a time when the late Sanjay Kapoor's wife, Priya Sachdev Kapoor, was meant to be confirmed on the board. That is what we are learning. Is this a allegation aimed at this particular family member is the question. We have Sanjay Ashar with us. He's senior partner at Crawford Bailey, just taking us through this. Sanjay, thank you so much for speaking with us. Very, very initial details coming in, but they're seriously shocking because Rani Kapoor, the mother of the late Sanjay Kapoor, is saying that he passed away in highly suspicious and unexplained circumstances. She says, despite me seeking information, I've been unable to receive any relevant answers and documents explaining the incident. I have been compelled to sign various documents without explanation or even having the time to read it. And she's saying I'm being coerced into signing such documents behind locked doors. So this is a very, very, very shocking turn of events as far as Sona BLW is concerned. What is the locus standi that Rani Kapoor would have on the board right now? Because she is asking for the deferment of the AGM, which is scheduled for today.
So see, if the meeting is properly convened, which is that notice has been issued to the shareholders, and if the meeting is properly constituted, namely the chairman of the meeting being there, quorum being there, then in law, that particular EGM or AGM cannot be adjourned or cannot be postponed. The meeting is valid in law. If somebody wants to adjourn the meeting, yes, there has to be a proposal for adjournment. That particular motion has to be placed before the meeting. There has to be a legitimate ground for putting that motion before the body, general body. That motion has to be seconded and put into vote, and thereafter only the decision for adjournment can take place. But otherwise, the meeting, if it is properly convened and duly constituted, it cannot be adjourned.
Okay, so even though, I want to come to the part where she is saying that no one can be nominated on the board. This is Rani Kapoor saying no one can be nominated on the board without my consent, because Rani Kapoor is at the start of the letter introducing herself as former chairperson of the company and the wife of the late Surinder Kapoor, founder of Sona Comstar. By virtue of the will dated 30th June 2015 executed by my late husband, I am the sole beneficiary of his estate and accordingly also a majority shareholder of the Sona Group, including the company. So the entire claim and letter is coming from this point of view, that she is the majority shareholder of the Sona Group, including the company. What are the rights then that Rani Kapoor has?
No, if she may have majority control of the company, majority shareholding in the company, that's fine. But she has to follow the process. In case she wants to have any director nominated and appointed on the board of Sona, then obviously she will have to make a requisition for the purpose of appointment of the directors from her side. In which event, the board will consider that requisition, and in case the board does not consider that requisition or rejects that requisition, then she herself can requisition a meeting and do whatever is required to be done for the purpose of appointment of these directors. So in other words, she may have a legal right by virtue of she holding majority shareholding in the company. And by majority, I mean 50% plus one share. Okay? And in which event she can exercise her right for the purpose of appointment of majority directors.
You can't stop the AGM.
But can't stop the AGM. Certainly not. No, she can vote against the motions which are placed before the general body meeting. But she cannot stop the general body meeting.
Request that she's made, and the reason also becomes very crucial, because she's saying wherein one of the items in the passing of a resolution to appoint certain director brackets S, so directors in the company as being the representative of the Kapoor family. That's the bone of contention. Who is the representative of the Kapoor family? Is it the mother of the late Sanjay Kapoor, or is it his wife? Because what we are learning is that his wife, Priya Sachdev Kapoor, was to be confirmed as a director in this particular AGM. Now, what is the legal position on who represents or becomes the head of the family after the passing away of the son? Is it the wife or the mother?
No, see, a person whose name is entered into the register of members and is a member of the company can attend the general body meeting, can attend the AGM. Merely because you are a legal heir does not entitle you to attend the general body meeting. The process has to be followed. Your name should be there in the register of members, and thereafter only you can attend the general body meeting. It can't be merely because you are head of the family, because you are the wife of the late founder, so on and so forth, that you automatically, in law, become entitled to attend the meeting.
Okay, so what she's requesting is, she's also saying to the board members, and we should pull up who the board members are of Sona BLW, very valuable company. You had a relatively smooth handover even after Sanjay Kapoor's shock demise, because the CEO has sort of taken charge. But she says, Rani Kapoor in her letter says, I would be left with no other option but to assume that it was a conscious decision taken by you to the detriment of the company and family if you choose to be part of the illegalities which are unfolding every day. This is addressed to the board members, saying, please defer with the meeting. Please don't move forward with the meeting without conferring with me and discussing threadbare the details of what has unfolded. Vishwanath Nair also joining in for more on this story. Vishy, what's really surprising is how this has come into the public domain, first on news agency ANI, and then now seems to have unraveled pretty quickly, because what the street has assumed so far is that this is a succession which was sorted fairly smoothly.
Yeah, so clearly there is this family element which is quite important, and if you were to look at the letter that Rani Kapoor has written to the board of directors, she's pointing out that she is the only representative of the family's interests and that without her approval nothing can be done. However, she's also very clearly saying that I have signed documents which I have not been able to read, I have not been given full context, and I've signed these documents without any clarity on what exactly I was signing off on. And now, if you were to look at the proposals that have been put up as part of this AGM, then Priya Sachdev Kapoor is coming in as a non-executive director on the board, and that's probably where all this debate is coming from. She's also obliquely referring to certain illegalities which she's not getting into the details of. She's saying that I don't want to talk about that right now, but there are many illegalities which have surfaced, and I've come to know of a lot of events that have happened which are not appropriate. Having said that, she does want to stop the AGM. Now, I was just looking at the shareholding. Rani Kapoor specifically does not have a very large shareholding. I think she alone holds only about 72 odd shares in the company. There are other members of the family who do own certain shares in the company. Having said that, Rani Kapoor is specifically saying that she's the only representative, and without her approval, nobody can come and represent the Kapoor family's interests. Nobody can be a part of the board claiming to represent the Kapoor family's interests. If you were to look at the last few bits of this letter, it says that I have been barred from accessing my bank accounts, I've been barred from accessing documents and details of the company. Despite all of this, I have put together the details that I'm sharing with you, and you need to stop this AGM at the earliest. Now, I was listening to Mr. Asher earlier, and he said that this is not something that they can actually execute. The AGM is happening today. We'll need to see what exactly comes out of it and whether somebody is able to actually block it.
Let me go across to Swapnil Kothari. Let's get more legal voices on this, just as we understand, and let's pull up the intraday of the stock as we go ahead as well. I just want to quickly see what's happening with Sona BLW through the last few minutes that we've been covering this story, and you've seen that sharp dive there because no one likes a family fight. It was already quite a hit that a very, very strong leader was unfortunately passed away. Swapnil Kothari joining now on the phone line. He's a senior lawyer. Mr. Kothari, thank you so much for speaking with us. Just throw some light on what we are seeing right now. We're clearly seeing a full-blown family feud play out. The question is, for shareholders and investors watching right now, to what extent could Rani Kapoor prevail? And then how important does it become who represents the Kapoor family on the board?
Well, it all depends upon what is the constitution of the company. What do the memorandum and the articles of association say? Now, given the fact that Mr. Sanjay Kapoor is no more, the mother to say that she is the sole shareholder or the sole owner of the company and she has got all the rights to decide as to when the meetings and the AGM would take place, I think this is a little, something that needs to be looked into, and I'm sure that the people who've given the message out to the shareholders about hosting of the AGM, and I'm sure this went about 21 days back, so she had all the time in the world to stop it or to try to stop it then, but to say that I'm not saying that she didn't try to, because we are not aware of those facts, whether she tried to earlier. But the fact is that on the day of the AGM, if you try to create this, then it sends a very bad message to the shareholders of the company that all is not well within the company. And the shareholders, are entitled to know by the doctrine of indoor management that whatever is taking place within the company is as per the norms of and the constitution of the company. So that is the doctrine of indoor management in corporate law. So you're supposed to presume that everything is as per the books. Now, when somebody comes out like this at the very helm of affairs, and somebody who is the matriarch of the family and says that this is not as per the rules, etc., it creates a sense of confusion between the shareholders, and the stocks prices are bound to dip. And not only that, but convey a very, very bad impression for the future prospects of the company. So I think she should let this pass, and whatever grudges she has, she should try to sort them out post the AGM. And in the alternative, if you think that very key decisions have been taking place in the AGM or have taken place in which she should have been present or she ought to have had a say, then you ought to challenge them in a court of law. It's as simple as that. So those things can be done. There is a legal recourse. It's not the end of the world. But what I would assume that given the fact that Sona Comstar is a very well-known company and it's got large a body of shareholders, etc., I would assume if I were there in her position, I would tend to advise her that I think you should just take a stock of the situation post the AGM, see what decisions have taken which tend to affect or dilute your power in the company. If they do, and if you think that because you have not been consulted or your consent has not been taken and that itself dilutes your power, then so be it, then you'll have to challenge it legally. But other than that, effectively, practically, let's see what has happened where any such decision has been taken to dilute your power. And in the first place, let us see what sort of power you actually had by the constitution of the company, whether it's the memorandum of association. It will be primarily the articles of association that will be governing that part and that position and that power.
It's going to get tricky. Kapil Madan coming in. So now if you look at the allegations that Rani Kapoor has made, he's also an advocate at the High Court. So Mr. Madan, thank you for speaking with us. If you look at the allegations they've made, they're some which border on criminal. She's talking about coercion. She's talking about being misguided, coerced into signing important documents, etc. How are you looking at this going forward?
Well, we need to look at it from two perspectives. One is the issue of succession and one is the issue of how the company, is run. We would also, I would presume that, she would also have shareholding in the company.
Yes.
And perhaps being a majority or a minor shareholder, you have certain rights. You have certain rights veto when to exercise your, rights, etc. And for the benefit of our viewers, let me also explain, something which is very basic. A company is always run through its board. Okay, and the board takes its, important decisions when convening their board meetings, their, annual general meetings, etc. Now, there are certain things in which, for example, if you wish to make any major changes, you need to have, resolution passed in these meetings. So, yes, if someone wants to exercise his right, if someone wants to, or if someone is realizing that there is something, wrong which is going on, perhaps either he or she, being a shareholder, can make an objection to the conduct of the AGM or the board meetings, etc. Because tomorrow, if there are decisions which are passed during those meetings,
then ultimately we will need to go to the court and seek your remedies to challenge those decisions. So perhaps what appears from the media report is that, she is taking preemptive steps because she is alleging that, there could be some illegality that would take place. There could substantial, decision that may be taken by board during the AGM. And that's the reason why you have a situation like this wherein she is basically questioning the AGM itself and she's seeking a postponement of the AGM.
Right. Mr. Pradhan, this is Vishwanath Naira joining in. I just wanted to ask you, I was looking at the resolutions that are part of this AGM. So apart from the appointment of Priya Sachdev Kapoor, who's the wife of late Sanjay Kapoor, of course, apart from that, there's also a resolution that talks about amending the Memorandum of Association. They're inserting two specific clauses which dictate what the company will do in terms of its business. And there's mention of military hardware. There's also mention of electronics and digital calculators. I'm just trying to understand if you were to alter the Memorandum of Association, does the board need any specific powers apart from the shareholders' approval in this case?
See, you will have to go back and check the all the provisions there. I would not make any comments at this point in time because the kind of resolution, there are certain resolutions which can only be passed with a minimum number of shareholders being there for the purposes of voting. So I have not seen those resolutions that have been circulated, and therefore I would like to reserve my comments insofar as this is concerned. But nevertheless, one thing is clear. Because, you have reports like this wherein she has admittedly challenged and raised questions and made allegations in so far as the conduct of the AGM is concerned. It appears that, there are substantial changes that they are likely to do. And, she is not very keen, in favor of those changes.
Understood. I just want to ask you one more question. If you were to bring in the shareholding structure of the company, now of course Rani Kapoor specifically does not hold that many shares, but there are other members of the Kapoor family who are part of the promoter group and they hold about 28% of the shares. Now typically for AGM resolutions to be passed, I think the barrier is 75% of shareholder nods before something can be passed. Right. So at 28%, anyway, if the family wishes to, it can block a resolution as such.
You're absolutely right. I mean, if there are majority of shareholders who vote in favor of a particular resolution, then technically the board will have to go with the amendments for the resolution that are passed. But having said that, in fact, the minority shareholders do also have some rights. I mean, you can't take decisions which are, which prejudice the rights of the minorities. It is one thing to say that, you have passed a resolution by the majority. But then again, if there are some legal rights which severely gets impinged, or, if there are some, bars made in our associations or memorandum of association, the minority shareholder can also seek their redressal by filing appropriate petition in the court of law.
All right, thank you so much, Kapil Madan. We've got quite a few legal voices there coming in. I think the long and short of it is that Rani Kapoor, even if all her claims are correct, cannot at the last minute command that the AGM be called off or postponed. Whatever grouse there is will have to be addressed in a court of law. And it looks like from the tone and tenor of that letter that this is going to get pretty ugly. Yeah.
Looks like it.
Absolutely, and if you look at the stock as well, we do see that nobody likes a family feud, and you can see that reflected in the stock price as well, because it's down about 2.5%, has taken a sharper knock, in fact, from what we saw at the start of the coverage of this particular developing story. We'll keep getting you more details, but that's all the time that we had on this edition of Markets at 12. Thank you so much for tuning in.
That's huge. That is a biggie. It's out of there.
Gold Plus Clear Glass. Far ho ya near, sab kuch dikhe clear.
Welcome viewers. This is a call for Disruptor show flight dated 25th July.
During my childhood days, we used to rely on rations. My mom used to tell me, go and stand in the queue immediately. Queues is something which I think every Indian is used to.
You've come from this background where you've had to stand in queue for rations. How do you become the CEO of Dijatra?
Why should there be so much of friction in availing a service? And from that perspective, I think this whole thought process of Dijatra began. We were asked, right, to write a memorable journey experience for the passenger. And I wrote this very simple story saying that, passenger just walks through all the touch points and nobody stops him or her for anything.
The initial teething troubles, talk a bit about that, including the vendor that you had for the back end of this entire process. There were questions on transparency. There were a lot of questions on safety. Why should I give my biometrics to a government agency?
We ran the startup challenge. We had a 6 startup shortlist. 2 of them were offered to build. One of them went ahead and built this ecosystem. And yes, we had a parting of ways.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है.
मैडम एक बात को खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Hello and welcome to Profit Buzzers right here on NDTV Profit. My name is Puneet Zaveri. With me is Varsha today, and over the next hour or so we'll get you a lot of exclusive conversations with managements back on Q1 earnings, as well as some of the key news flows that you need to know about. But first, let's take a look at how the markets are doing. We've seen a steady pressure on the Nifty today. The Nifty is almost down. Let's look at how it's doing right now, because it's slipped below the key support level of 24,900. It's been one of the key ones that we've spoken about, that 25,000 has been under pressure. Earlier this week we breached that level, went all the way down to 24,900, and then we saw a bounce back. We've now breached that level. 24,870 is where we are currently, and it brings the next 2.5 hours of trading a very, very key number, because if we do end below 24,900, then we start looking at the other long-term supports of 24,700 as well. Let's look at the constituents of the Nifty 50 as well very quickly. We are at the low point of the day. We've seen some pressure consistently on banks today. HDFC as well as ICICI are one of the biggest contributors to the loss. Bajaj Finserv, after reporting its results, has also been impacted. On the other hand, something like Infosys is also down and is the top Nifty loser, despite reporting a decent set of earnings to say the least. So post that actually on 24th, one day after the result, we saw that impact on Infosys. Today as well, it's continuing to see the downward momentum. The gainers, we saw some decent results coming from SBI Life, but that's failing to boost the Nifty in the green. Let's also quickly look at the advanced decline ratio as well and what's happening with that, because we have seen that it has been a consistent day of selling, and that's consistent with what we're seeing in the declines as well. Almost 1900 stocks declining in trade today for the advances. It's 1/6 of that number. Mid cap and small cap index has been going rather in tandem and a lot of times on the opposite direction of what the benchmarks are doing. Today though, it's been consistent selling across the board. We've seen the mid cap as well as the small cap 250 index down more than 1.3 to 1.6%. And let's also look at the BSE 500 as well. A lot of individual stock moves. Sona BLW is definitely one. We're getting the flashes on the bottom of your screen that, Rani Kapoor, the late mother of Sanjay Kapoor, has sent a letter to the board to defer the AGM, which was slated to start today at 1 p.m. So that will be one of the key news flows. We did cover that in detail as well. Some other stocks which are under pressure is APL Apollo on the back of weak results. Something like a Swan Energy is dragging the market as well, and 5-star is also down almost 4.18%. On the positives though, there have been a few, and we'll be talking about that during the show. Something like an IEX is bouncing 8% up today after the 29% fall in trade yesterday. Something like a Metro Brands has been consistent second day of growth, as well as something like a eClerx Services up 2.6% after posting a decent set of earnings. But let me go across to Sharmila Joshi from sharmilajoshi.com. Sharmila, we've seen a consistent selling today. A very good afternoon to you, and thanks so much for joining in. Do you think that on a lot of that is backed by weak earnings, or do you just see that the market is under pressure across the board?
I think market is under pressure across the board. I think a lot of it has to do with news flow, with FI selling, with what we're hearing on the tariffs, etc. And I think partly because of numbers, because I think the quarterly, the start to the earnings season, this quarter earnings season has not been the best. We've had quite a few not so good numbers, some misses, and I think, yes, some positives as well. But by and large, I would say that it's been a slightly sluggish start to the earnings season. But I think the biggest reason is that you're kind of seeing some sort of despondency from international, other markets are doing well, but the Indian markets are facing a bit of a sell-off, and that is clearly taking its toll.
Thank you so much, Sharmila, for that view. Well, IEX is in focus today as well. Yesterday, if you see, the stock was down 30%, and today it's up almost 8%. Now, this is on the back of good earnings, and of course, analysts are assuming that now everything is priced in. But let's just figure out how the earnings were. They reported 15% increase in electricity volumes, and also there was a sharp surge in the trading of renewable energy certificate with 52.7 lakh RECs, which is up 149% year on year. But the main point here is the analysts believe that worst is being priced in, and if market coupling was implemented in FY25, EPS downside would have been 30%. But the Q1 numbers, if you see, were better than estimates, and adjusted PAT stood at around 110 crore, which is 7% above estimates due to increase in other income by 37% year on year. And this increase in other income is because of owing profits from IGX, which is a subsidiary of IEX. Sharmila, so clearly, yesterday the stock was down 30% because of the market coupling, and the street, the main thing is because of this market coupling, the IEX, which had a moat of price discovery, will no longer be there, and that's one of the reasons why investors are concerned. And the stock was down 30%, but today, if you see, the stock is up 8% on the back of good earnings. How are you viewing this, and what is your view? Would you advise investors to chip in, or you would advise to stay away from such stock?
Very honestly, I'm confused about this one, because conceptually it seems like a great company, because you're talking of power exchange, and we know our sort of demand for power and energy. and they have some very innovative products that they want to launch and have launched, which will sort of make trading in energy very interesting. But I have seen, I think this is now like the second sort of disappointment that I have had with the stock, where some or the other regulatory development has gone against them, and you've seen the stock correct very significantly. So, of course, I think there will be people who will view this sort of big correction that you had as an opportunity to buy, because, as I said, conceptually, it would be really something that I was very, very positive on. And as I said, this is the second time I've been disappointed by regulatory news. So I'm kind of wondering whether it's really worth your time and energy to be invested in a space like this, which is going to get impacted by this kind of news flow. So I'm really neutral on the stock, but I can sense why people saw this as an opportunity, because I personally think that if they were allowed to sort of operate in that environment where things were not going to change on the ground so significantly for them, then this kind of a play has a lot to offer.
Got that, Sharmila. And the management as well, they spoke to us today on NDTV Profit, mentioned that there's a lot of things that need to be done before the coupling happens, and they're confident of maintaining the leadership position as well. But the other thing that they also highlighted, that some of the brokers and analysts have mentioned that there could be a 30% EPS correction. They actually came out and said that they're confident of maintaining leadership, and they don't think that they will actually have a 30% EPS correction as well at this point of time. The key aspect is that if they will actually have to reduce the transaction fees to maintain this market share of 85% that they have, that'll be one of the key ones to watch out for today. But let's quickly also pull up a couple of stocks. V-Mart is the one which I want to talk about first. Let's look at what the stock is doing. It was buzzing on the back of quarterly results as well, and that was one of the key ones, because we have actually seen that in this particular point of time that the retail segment has been under pressure, led by these results from D-Mart amongst others. But let's actually go across to Anand Agarwal, who's the CFO of V-Mart Retail. Mr. Agarwal, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks so much for joining in. And at a time where the retail space actually has been impacted, we've seen some positive results coming from you, as well as commentary previously as well when we've spoken. Talk to us of how did you see this particular quarter gone by? Are you continuously seeing spending even in the consumer base that you operate in?
Yeah, hi. I think retail markets, especially in the value retail segment, have definitely improved. If I were to look at the progress in the last 2 years in particular, last quarter gone by has also been quite strong. I would not say it has been weak. We are seeing good amount of footfalls. There's been a good footfall growth of almost 14%. Revenue growth also of 13-14%. Profitability growth of more than 27% on a pre-Ind AS level, and even on a post-Ind AS level, the profitability growth is almost 2x. So we've seen a good quarter go by, and in fact the traction that we see on the ground in terms of better monsoons, better footfalls, and lower inflation are all pointing towards a slightly more than better performance to come.
Hi, Mahima also joining in. It's been a great quarter for you. Just want to understand that despite of weak same-store sales growth, EBITDA has grown, and your margins have also been at 14%, which is which has never been the case for you earlier. Just want to get a sense as to what's worked in terms of this margin expansion, and do you think that 14% mark can be sustained when it comes to EBITDA margins?
So Mahima, we have definitely delivered much better margins in the past. So this is not a one-off, and I just hope that the momentum that we are trying to build in terms of better efficiency, in terms of better inventory health, and in terms of also better pricing-led product availability to the consumer is able to give us much better profitability in the future. So the key behind the better profitability is more inventory-led. We've been able to liquidate a lot of old inventory and thereby also earn good margins. Gross margins have not come under pressure. Gross margins have actually improved. The expenses we have able to cut down, especially on the marketing side, and also the fact that our LimeRoad division, which has been under a lot of pressure for the last 2 years, that losses from LimeRoad have come down by 56%. So in totality, despite the lower same-store sales growth of only 1% in the quarter, we've still been able to deliver a much better bottom line. And because all of the the measures that I talked about are all fundamental in nature, I still believe that we should be able to look at continued level of performance going forward. But having said that, we will also look at slightly sharpening our pricing, thereby putting the margins, the gross margins, slightly under pressure, but looking at increasing the market share, increasing the the sales per square feet, and increasing the same store sales growth, which should neutralize that impact.
So then let me try to put this into perspective. You've done 12% margins in FY25. Right now you started with 14% margins. So by FY26 end, can we expect the margins to be in that 12 to 13% mark?
I hope so. We are working towards that. I can't give you a number, but definitely I would like to improve what we delivered last year. And going by what I am seeing currently on the ground, I think it should be achievable.
There was one thing that I observed this time. I was talking to one of other retailers, and they said that rather than the clothing segment, for them, something that worked was the ancillary part of their business. That is their watches, jewelry, perfumes, etc. You also recently launched, a lot of, products in this particular category. Just wanted to get a sense on growth that you've observed in those niches.
So right now it's a very nascent category for us. We just launched beauty and artificial jewelry and some amount of more fashion products as accessories in the last 1 year. In fact, we have not even launched them entirely in all these stores. So right now the experiment is happening around almost 100 stores or so. But the early traction that we are seeing is quite good. Still, I think we have to improve a lot. But yes, there is more room for growth, and this category can contribute even more in the times to come. Right now, it is a very small category for us. It is less than 2%, but I think we can build it up to at least 5% or 5% plus in the coming quarters.
Interesting. And, the guidance in terms of your retail growth, if I'm not wrong, retail space growth is around 13 to 15% this FY26 as well. FY25, you've done a capex of around 122 odd crores. What's the kind of capex that you're guiding for this year? And second part of that question is, how will you fund that?
So the capex should be roughly around 120-130 crores again this year. This will be a mix of new stores as well as refurbishment of old stores. So we are pressing the pedal on expansion. We are pressing the pedal also on refurbishing some of the older stores to improve their productivity and more competitiveness in the market. But definitely, I think all the capex funding should come in from internal accruals. We've been cash positive this quarter. This quarter, we generated a cash of almost 110 crores. So I think on a full year basis, whatever cash that the business generates, we will want to reinvest back that into the business in terms of expansion and capex.
So Q1 ended with total stores being at 510. Where does this number go by the end of FY26?
I think we should be able to add roughly around 65 net new stores during the year. So I think 570, 560 to 580 number should be possible.
The kind of store openings that your competitors are also doing is very fast and aggressive in nature. Just want to get your sense in terms of how competition is shaping up, because your peers are equally doing well when it comes to their overall top line and bottom line growth.
So we are not in a race with anybody. We are a very disciplined and a governed company. We take our time in making sure that whatever locations that we want to open are going to be profitable. So we are extremely profit oriented, profit focused rather than sales focused and number of store focused. There is a lot of opportunity in the market. There is no denying that. And I think the robust performance of the entire retail sector, especially the value retail sector, is a testimony to that. But we will not really like to, compete for spaces with others by, increasing the pricing or increasing the cost structures. But yes, the opportunity definitely exists, and we are also looking at increasing the pace a little bit. But whatever number of stores that we open, whatever expansion happens, it will all happen through internal accruals. So thereby, that automatically creates a sort of discipline within the system in terms of how much we will want to expand.
Mr. Agarwal, just one follow-up question. You mentioned that, and something Mahima also highlighted, that same-store sales growth has been weak. But still it's a decent performance, and that's backed by the new store openings and the revenue growth coming from there. But we've seen this, and we are all guilty of asking these questions to management. And in the medium term, at some point in time, the store additions will slow down, and so could the revenue growth. We're seeing that play in one of the larger retail giants, which is now part of the Nifty as well. So how would you counter that aspect, and do you see that your more exposure towards tier 3 as well, which is one of the major, almost 277 stores for you now, out of the 510, that will largely be able to help you boost that growth back once the rural consumption starts, or the tier 3 consumption starts to pick up?
See, I think the answer lies in a larger India-Bharat story, where almost 60-70% of the market still is in the unorganized segment, and we are still a very small part of the organized play. Per se. So we've largely been focusing on tier 2, tier 3 markets, and that is the segment of the market which has been expanding the highest. And there are a lot of players who have also started up, ramping up their play in these kind of segments, in these kinds of cities, which also amplifies that the opportunity exists. And, so we are not opening 200 stores a year. We are opening 60-70 stores a year, 50-60 stores a year. So we're not, again, linking back to the last question that I answered from Mahima. So we're not in a race to, open 1,000 stores in 2 years. So thereby we are going at a slightly slower pace, but making sure that whatever pace that we start with, it remains profitable. So I understand that there is a point after which there will come a fatigue, there will come a large tail, a long tail, which might become unprofitable. And that is something that we are very, very wary about. So we want to go slightly slow, but more long-term and more sustainable, on a more sustainable basis.
Fair point, Mr. Agarwal. Thanks so much for joining in, giving us perspective on the business as well as the Bharat, as you mentioned. We look forward to our next conversation, but thank you for joining today. Well, viewers, just stay tuned because we'll just come back with a very, very short break. Get your views from Sharmila as well on the stock. Stay tuned for more.
गोल्ड प्लस ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रिफ्लेक्टिव ग्लास लगाओ, धूप की गर्मी को दूर भगाओ और बिजली का बिल भी बचाओ।
Welcome viewers. This is a call for Disruptor show flight dated 25th July.
During my childhood days, we used to rely on rations. My mom used to tell me, go and stand in the queue immediately. Queues is something which I think every Indian is used to.
You've come from this background where, you've had to stand in queue for rations. How do you become the CEO of Dijatra?
Why should there be so much of friction in availing a service? And from that perspective, I think this whole thought process of Dijatra began. We were asked, to write a memorable journey experience for the passenger. And I wrote this very simple story saying that, passenger just walks through all the touch points and nobody stops him or her for anything.
The initial teething troubles, talk a bit about that, including the vendor that you had for the back end of this entire process. There were questions on transparency. There were a lot of questions on safety. Why should I give my biometrics to a government agency?
We ran the startup challenge. We had a 6 startup shortlist. 2 of them were offered to build. 1 of them went ahead and built this ecosystem. And yes, we had a parting of ways.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसा हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है.
मैडम एक बात को खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
We investigated a shady advice.
All right, the big corporate story that we're tracking at this hour is what seems like a family dispute that has erupted and could impact Sona BLW. Their AGM has started, by the way. We're speaking with Vaibhav Gaggar, who I believe is Rani Kapoor's lawyer. Rani Kapoor, of course, is the mother of the late Sanjay Kapoor. Mr. Gaggar, can you hear me? Mr. Gaggar, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are. So we've seen the letter that Rani Kapoor has written to the board asking for the postponement of the AGM. Who is this directed at? Who are the certain individuals who have to be confirmed by the board as directors that Rani Kapoor has an issue with?
If she wanted to name the individuals, she would have named them in the letter. There's a reason that she's not naming them. It is the stakeholders are privy to the name. They know who it is. But she wants to ensure that this does not turn into a public spat or a public affair. She's looking at ensuring that the interests of the family as well as the business is maintained and is not prejudiced in any manner. And therefore, she's chosen not to take names.
Pretty obvious that on the AGM's list of business is the name of Priya Sachdev Kapoor. Is this aimed at her?
Could potentially be. She just wants to make sure that the family is properly represented.
Why would the wife of the late Sanjay Kapoor not be a proper representation of the family?
Because as per the family will by Shri Surinder Kapoor, that's Sanjay's late father, who was also the founder of the group, the entire assets, shareholding, etc., everything was willed exclusively to Mrs. Rani Kapoor back in 2015 when Shri Kapoor expired. She is the head of the family. She needs to make sure that things are taken and done in the right manner. And she has also expressed in the letter very categorically that a number of things have come to light leading up to the death and immediately thereafter, which has caused grave apprehension and suspicion in her mind. And she wants to get to the heart of the matter at the earliest.
This is Vishwanath Nair joining in. If you were to look at the shareholding of Sona BLW, Aureus Investment Private Limited, that's the entity that holds the majority of the promoter stake, about 27.7%. And one of the three members of directors of this firm was Sanjay Kapoor. I'm just trying to understand, because if you were to look at Rani Kapoor's name, that shareholding is actually quite small. So when you say that she's the ultimate beneficiary of the entire shareholding of the family, how does this pair up?
You'll need to dig a little deeper and see how the shareholding came to be. When was incorporation? What was the shareholding? What is the manner it is being held in? And how the family has always been supposed to be the owners of the Sona Group. As I'd mentioned earlier as well to your colleague, this all starts from Shri Surinder Kapoor, who had willed everything with a sign-off from Sanjay and his two sisters to say that, yes, the mother would be the exclusive owner of all the assets. So how the web of companies have come about is something which is going to come forth if required. But one thing that at least Mrs. Kapoor is very, very clear with is that's a family legacy, family shareholding, and she has been entrusted with the duty by her late husband to ensure that it remains that way.
So now that the AGM has actually started and we can see the visuals on our screen at this point in time, the conversation has already started at the AGM. What legal avenues do you currently possess? I mean, because the corporate lawyers that we were speaking with earlier said that court of law is probably the only right forum to debate this, because sending out a letter to board of directors wouldn't really lead to much.
So, I respect the views of my colleagues who advise that. And there are two ways to look at it. One is purely legalistically speaking, getting into court. And that's something which should have always been an option as well for Mrs. Kapoor. But again, as the head of the family, that's something that she wished to avoid as far as possible. And therefore, she sent this request, penning down some very, very startling facts, in fact, if you've read the letter, and bringing them to the notice of the board and the shareholders, and hoping that they take cognizance of it and see that this is a lady, an 80-year-old lady, a grieving mother, who's lost her only son at 55. The entire legacy of the family is at stake over here. She's mentioned in as many words that things are not adding up as far as it being a freak accident is concerned. So obviously there are things which she's privy to now, which has led her to these suspicions. She has put it over there that she's been made to sign documents during the mourning period. I mean, an 80-year-old lady being made to sign documents without being explained anything a couple of days after her only son's death. That's been put on paper, and that's really, she's left with the wisdom of the board and the shareholders to see how they wish to react to it. She's appealing to them to defer it just by 2 weeks. And if they choose not to, then it is their call. And that's for them to decide then.
Clearly, they've chosen not to, Mr. Gagar. This is Tamanna again here. They've chosen not to. So one question is, what next? And the second is, yes, we have gone through the letter in detail. Some of these allegations are startling, borderline on criminality. What are the legal steps that Mrs. Rani Kapoor will be taking?
Well, I'm not about to tell what the steps would be, and if any, because I think, again, I reiterate, she has chosen not to name people. She has chosen not to divulge too much detail at this point. She has only put it out there to say, be cautious, please defer this, cooperate with me, provide me access to at least my own bank account, provide me access to details, provide me access to the documentation. She has written letters in the past as well. And then she's going to sit down. I mean, if the board and the shareholders decide to still proceed with it, it's their call, as I said earlier. And then she's got to sit down and decide how she wants to deal with it.
The options available on how to deal with it. And, if you can just come back to the point of no access to her bank accounts, who has the power to do that?
A lot of things are going to come out if this turns into a battle. All her bank accounts today, if she wishes to access them, she's not being able to. Let me leave it at that.
Right. Mr. Kagar, quick question around the resolutions that have been listed at the AGM. Now, one of the resolutions says that the Memorandum of Association of the company will be amended with addition of 2 specific clauses. And these are about the nature of the company or what it makes and what it produces, right? Is that something that's a cause of concern to Ms. Kapoor?
I think the central point of concern for Mrs. Kapoor is that there needs to be a status quo insofar as the representation of the Sona Group and the Kapoor family's interests are concerned. She has requested, in as many words, that no one should be allowed to portray that she has given her consent or her blessings to anybody being appointed on her behalf or through her authority. And if anything is produced saying that it has been under her signatures, she's given a very clear reason, which if push comes to shove, she would be able to back up in evidence as well. So what all points of agenda are out there? Mrs. Kapoor is really concerned more with this aspect leading to what has led to the death of her family, of her son, and the consequences thereafter.
Right. Mr. Kagar, I mean, forcing somebody or coercing somebody to sign a legal document which forces them to give up their rights, that's a straight up crime, right, at this point in time under the Indian legal system. It's obvious then that would be the obvious legal sort of direction to go into.
Nothing is obvious. She wants to ensure that the family remains intact as far as possible. Since she started receiving this information, she's been trying to gather information despite all efforts being made to block the same. She's not approached court yet. So there's no writing on the wall as to what the next steps are going to be. She's hoping better sense prevails and they are able to find a way forward. But one thing I think she's very clear about is that she wants to get to the heart of the matter as to what happened that led to this death. To her, this is not just another freak accident as was made out to be initially. And I think that's the main focus.
Would that not be, Mr. Gagar, something in the purview of investigators? Who would investigate this on behalf of Mrs. Rani Kapoor?
Well, jurisprudentially, the offences, the death has occurred in the UK, but it'll have ramifications all over because, this was a gentleman who was really a global citizen, so as to say, to that extent, a very strong interest and roots in India, in the UK, in various other parts of the world as well. So if there is credence to her suspicion and the investigation goes a certain way, then where the conspiracy goes, we don't know. But it's still early days in that. Right now, we're dealing with a situation where the old lady, the senior citizen that she is saying this needs to be at least investigated and not, just blown out as it being just another accident.
Just a thought that comes to mind is Mrs. Rani Kapoor also acting in the interest of her grandchildren and to ensure that they have their rights in place?
Absolutely. I mean, she is, as the head of the family, she is responsible. She was made responsible and entrusted with that duty from Sri Surinder Kapoor, the late Sri Surinder Kapoor, who was the founder and really the man who brought this entire Sona group about. So her concern is the family. Sanjay's kids, and there are Sanjay's sister's kids, everyone is there. And that's what the grandfather and she would have wanted, perhaps.
Touch with Mr. Sanjay Kapoor's late wife, Karishma Kapoor, on this?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Is she in touch? Is Mrs. Rani Kapoor in touch with the late Sanjay Kapoor's former wife, Karishma Kapoor, on this matter?
I don't know about the matter or not, or what the specifics are, but as a family, they are very much in touch.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes.
Please.
Yes, no, just finish your point, please.
No, just, I mean, and so far as what is discussed between them, that's really between them. I'm not at all privy to.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Vaibhav Gaggar, Rani Kapoor's lawyer, giving us a sense of what's happening there. And just let's take a look at that stock. Not dropping too much, Puneet and Vishwanath, because beyond a point, Rani Kapoor doesn't have a massive stake. And that AGM is going on as much. It will be maybe a nuisance value from an investor point of view, but it's not going to impact the day-to-day running of the company.
But that would also depend on how the court sees this. For example, if I heard Vaibhav Gaggar right, he said that the web of companies that was created after Surinder Kapoor's will, which led to the shareholding structure having changed and how certain entities ended up holding stake, if that gets questioned, then that's a problem, because that's the promoter entity that is going to be pulled into the court.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see
then there's an unraveling
yes.
of that whole web of companies. All right. So, sorry that we're continuing to track here this afternoon, but meanwhile, market's taking a bit of a beating.
Well, definitely, and it's been consistent selling both on the Nifty as well as on the mid cap and the small cap as well. But let's quickly pull up something like a DLF as well that's in focus today. Now, they've made a re-entry year back in Mumbai, and that's one of the key ones which we've been speaking about as well. Now, with the launch of its West Park project, which has already accumulated rupees 2,300 crores in pre-sales, we spoke to Akash Ori, the Joint Managing Director and Chief Business Officer of DLF Homes. Listen to what he had to say.
Last week we were talking about your Mumbai entry, and we're looking at around a pre-sales number of 2,300 crore. Just want to understand firstly your response in terms of where the Mumbai launch is concerned, and now what would be your strategy ahead?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Yes, just last week we were discussing about bringing in 2 towers as we had announced, but what an overwhelming response it has been, and we had to bring in another tower on Saturday and then finally the last one on Sunday. So I think, yes, we are also overwhelmed and very grateful for the response that we've got from Mumbai. About almost 416 apartments. And very interestingly, we've also done about almost 19-20% of our business has come through the Mumbai NRIs across the globe.
Okay, Mr. Ori, just for the viewer context, give us a sense in terms of how the project is expected to shape up. Now you have first phase, which is completely sold out. As you just mentioned, we've clocked in about 2,300 crore of sales over here. And this, I'm assuming, is with a ticket size of around 6 to 9 crore. With this second phase, what is the kind of inventory that you bring into the market? Can you give us more details? And as to the timelines also, when can we expect the second launch, considering that you've had a strong response to the first one?
We're also happy to announce to you that the penthouses have gone at almost about 70,000 rupees, which is about 35 crores. So that is what it is right now. As far as the project is concerned, yes, the first phase is sold out. As you know, SRA has its own compliances. So the next phase, we will try and see how fast we can prepone. But I think it will take time. Next year, we'll be able to bring out the other phase. This has been a great learning for us also in Mumbai. Amazing amount of meetings and customer endorsements. And I think this will be the beginning of a lot of other things that we'll do here.
Also, you know, in terms of this 2,300 crore of mark that we are looking in pre-sales, you've already seen about 11,000 crore worth of sales from the DLF Pravana North project. This adds up to around 13,000 crore or so, exceeds that mark in fact. So considering that the guidance that you've given for 20,000 to 22,000 crore of pre-sales for the overall FY26, you achieved almost 50% of it. So considering that, do you sustain the current guidance which is given, or are we looking at an upward revision in terms of where the guidance number is there?
No, see what happens is real estate is reasonably complex, the whole process. We need approvals to happen. This is not as simple. So therefore, What you see right now, I think the concentration on Q2 was in the West. It was Mumbai and Goa. So we will continue to do what we have to do here. Q3, we've got other things in Delhi are happening. So we'll be working with that. And we will see, the board is going to take that call post this. But I think just to introduce a product out of thin air is not going to be possible. I think, as you know, and especially in DLF, it takes a lot of planning because, most of these things are kind of planned based on customer demand and customer centricity and customer feedback. At this point in time, I think we've given robust guidelines of about almost 20 plus K for the next 3 years. We'll come back to you should there be a change.
So 20,000 crore plus of pre-sales is something that we should be watching out for the next 3 years itself. Now, considering Mumbai as a market, just want to understand how this has been different compared to the NCR market that we are looking at in terms of pricing or even the demand trajectory which is there. And considering that you've got a strong response over here, what is the kind of opportunity that you're seeing now from the Mumbai market? Do you expect the mix now to increase in the next 3 years or also from this market?
See, Mumbai, as I said, has endorsed us in a very big way. A lot of people said a lot of things before we came in, but I think proof in the pudding is in its eating. So I think we respect that. Firstly, I will repeat this and many times as much as it takes. We're extremely grateful with the support and the confidence that the Mumbai customers and investors have given us.
Well, that was the management of DLF, and we see the entire realty pack in focus as well. But let's first quickly pull up the 3 IT stocks in focus: Mphasis, eClerx, as well as Cyient. Now, I just want to start off these 3 because, we've seen a larger impact on all these companies today on the back of earnings. Mphasis started off the day at a very strong note, but then has seen correction. While the 4 key numbers were largely flat, numbers remained largely flat, the deal wins were one of the major ones to talk about. It was up almost 140% on a YOY basis. On a quarter-on-quarter basis as well, the deal wins are at $760 million versus just $390 million. And the company, very, very promising outlook is what they've given in terms of AI-led deals that they've won across banking amongst other segments as well. They've also mentioned that, in this particular time frame, they've seen broad-based growth across the sector. And as I mentioned, AI-led deal wins has been one of the key ones as well. Let's also see what something like a Hexaware is doing, and that stock has been under consistent pressure because that's another earnings that was on the negative side. Revenue for the company was down in this particular quarter by 1.65%. Revenue was up 1.65%, but the margins have been one of the key weaker ones. 406 basis point in terms of pressure for something like a Hexaware Tech, and we're seeing that sharp correction, 8.5% down on something like that. Let's pull up something like Cyient as well. That was the other one which I was mentioning. Cyient in this particular quarter has done decently, but in terms of numbers, there's nothing home to talk about. The revenue is dipped in this particular quarter. Standalone earnings for the EBIT has been down as well in this particular quarter, and margins at 9.5% has been something to watch out for. But flashed on the bottom of your screen right now, Cipla has come out with its earnings. Revenue has come in at 6,957 crore. But let me just get in Varsha on this because she tracks the pharma space very closely. Varsha, what do you make of the first numbers?
So, Puneet, the revenue is up 3.9%. Well, it was expected to rise 5.4%. Now, this might be because of the US flat sales, because US we need to have the press release also. But on the face, it looks like that US might have seen decline in the revenue. Yesterday, we also saw Dr. Reddy's US business fell 11% year on year. And now, why we are seeing problems in US is because of the price erosion in certain US markets. But over here, if you see, EBITDA margin are at 25.6% versus the estimation was at around 24.5%. So here it has beaten estimates. Even at net profit was expected to rise 1.9% at 1,198 crore, and over here the net profit has also kind of some beaten the expectations, but we need to see that how US sales have performed for the company, and also India business and emerging market business was expected to perform well, because the revenue growth that you're seeing may be because of the India and emerging market business and the fall in the US business. That's the reason maybe we are the revenue has not beaten expectations, but overall EBITDA margin, if you see, EBITDA margin, if you see, has beaten the estimations. That may be, because of the high value products or the launches that the company has gone into. But we need to see the press release for, more insights into Cipla, and we'll come back to you on that. But, that's all the time that we have on the show. Stay tuned to NDTV Profit.
Welcome viewers. This is a call for Disruptor show flight dated 25th July.
During my childhood days, we used to rely on rations. My mom used to tell me, go and stand in the queue immediately. Queues is something which I think every Indian is used to.
You've come from this background where you've had to stand in queue for rations. How do you become the CEO of Dijatra?
Why should there be so much of friction in availing a service? And from that perspective, I think this whole thought process of Dijatra began. We were asked, to write a memorable journey experience for the passenger. And I wrote this very simple story saying that, passenger just walks through all the touch points and nobody stops him or her for anything.
The initial teething troubles, talk a bit about that, including the vendor that you had for the back end of this entire process. There were questions on transparency. There were a lot of questions on safety. Why should I give my biometrics to a government agency?
We ran the startup challenge. We had a 6 startup shortlist. 2 of them were offered to build. One of them went ahead and built this ecosystem. And yes, we had a parting of ways.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसा हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है.
मैडम एक बात, खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा।
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है।
मैडम एक बात को खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Top Trades on NDTV Profit with me, Somit Sarkar, and my co-anchor Anushi. Well, Anushi, if you look at the benchmark, it's down nearly 200 points from opening, and though we have recovered some points, but sectoral wise, if you look at, it's only the Nifty Pharma Index which is trading in green.
Absolutely. You know, as far as we can see, it's a sea of red that we are looking at in terms of benchmark as well as the broader market indices, some bit of pressure building in there. In fact, if you look at Nifty 50, it's down about 0.8%. Sensex also similar kind of moves that we are looking at. Also, let's take a quick check at what's happening with Nifty Bank. So, Nifty Bank also under the radar that we are looking at, it's down about 0.9% as well. In fact, if you look at the point contribution table, we have a lot of these banks in red is what we are seeing. HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, as well as others, Infosys and Reliance also facing that pressure in trade that we are looking at. Well, what's working well is Cipla. Now, the company just came out with their results. Varsha doing a deeper analysis on this, the closing as well. SBI Life, the other stock which is in green, and this is on the back of the results also that we are looking at. Dr. Reddy's, Apollo Hospital, some of the other counters that you should be watching out in green is what we are looking. But in terms of how the sectors are faring out, it's the defense pack where we are seeing most of these pressure building. It's down about more than about 1% or also. Nifty Realty, Nifty FMCG also, it's all across. We are looking at most of the sectors in red, barring the likes of Nifty Pharma, which is up over 0.6%, and Nifty Healthcare, which is also seeing similar moves as the pharma space that we are looking at. So this is the sectoral picture that we are looking at. In terms of broader markets, if we are seeing now Nifty Midcap 150, over here, we are seeing even deeper cuts around 1.45%, some bit of recovery that we have seen compared to what has happened. But like Nifty Small Cap 250 also under pressure, seeing cuts of over 1.8% as well. Now, let's see BSE 500 to get a sense in terms of which are these stocks which is leading to these kind of cuts that we are looking at. Right at the top, APL Apollo down about 7%. In fact, even UTI Asset, Swan Energy, they're all seeing cuts of around 5 to 6% in trade. But it's interesting that Indian Energy Exchange is up over 9% today in trade, while Phoenix Mills also gaining on the back of the first quarter results. They've also announced a significant acquisition as well. Metro Brands and Trident also seeing gains of over 3%. So this is the overall picture that we are building in terms of how the markets are concerned. But with that, let's focus to an interesting management that we have on the show. And this is on the back of Q1 results that we are looking at. In fact, Capital Small Finance Bank Q1 results are out showing solid growth. Deposits, if we look at, have seen about a 17% of an uptick. Sarveej Singh Samra, the MD and CEO, joins us today. So, Sarveej, let me start off the conversation. Firstly, your assessment of the overall first quarter that has gone by.
Thank you, Anushi, for this connect. Like for Capital Small Finance Bank, the Q1 is a period that is marked by stronger deposit growth, a healthy growth in advances, and stable interest margins. So we have witnessed a strong momentum in deposit growth, where on quarter growth is 9.5%, and of course year on year is 17.1%.
Right, sir. Now, if you look at your loan growth for Q1, it is below than what you had guided for. You had guided for 20% growth in FY26 for Q1. The growth has come in around 16%. So, is this kind of a one-off, and you're expecting this to be covered up in the remaining part of the financial year, or you're revising your guidance downward?
No, Somit, we are not revising our guiding downward. The thing is that if we see the Q1 normally is characterized with a muted credit growth. But say in this Q1 of the current financial year, we have grown Q and Q by 3.5%. So going ahead, we feel that this momentum is going to pick. And so far as, let me share with you that we have done a record disbursements during this quarter, which amount to be 865 crores, which is a Q and Q growth of 13% and year growth of 15%. So we are very confident, and we'll be, for the guidance for the year, we are very much aligned.
Considering, you're just speaking about the guidance that we are looking at, I'm also looking at the return on assets number, where we've seen about 18 basis points of a downtick in terms of where the sequential performance is concerned. Now, in the previous con call, you'd mentioned to improve ROA by 1.4%. Just want to understand your sense in terms of this metric.
In a downward interest regime, like you would appreciate, we have been able to protect our margin. We last quarter also we were 4.1 NIM, and this quarter also we are 4.1 NIM. And I'm very confident that the ROA is 1.2 for the quarter, which like for the Q1 for the last financial year was 1.3. So there's a slight pressure on that, but I am quite confident that we'll going ahead during the year, we'll improve this ROA, and we'll move towards our the guided number that we have given. Yeah.
Right, sir. So one of your larger peers has shown concerns regarding MSME lending. Are you facing similar kind of issues?
No, absolutely not. MSME is doing perfectly fine for us. Otherwise, we are majoritarily, almost the entire book, we are into secured lending, and even the growth momentum, the fresh disbursements that have happened during this quarter, 28%. These disbursements have been the growth towards MSME. Yeah.
Right, sir. And what is your trend, and what is your sense about the credit cost for the remaining part of the financial year?
Actually, say this quarter there has been slight upside in the credit cost, but leaving aside that has been particular to very specific sector, because directly MFI, we are not into direct MFI lending, but in our corporate book for NBFC, there's some very slight portion, only 1% of our advances are towards NBFC MFIs. So there's, as the sector has been behaving, so there's this increase in credit cost for the quarter we see is temporary, and going ahead we are very much aligned towards improving both our GNPA as well as NNPA.
In terms of margins, what would be the outlook, considering that this quarter we've seen flat margins? So if we are seeing, you're expected an uptick over here as well.
Actually, like the margins, I think in a downward interest regime, we are very confident we'll be able to protect NIM of 4.1. But as we have mentioned earlier also, there's a leg room available with the organization to increase the CD ratio. So for the current quarter, the average CD ratio is 80.9%. since the capital adequacy is high, 24.5%, and LCR is 214%. So there's a leg room available in the balance sheet itself to improve and grow our loan book further. This will have a favorable impact on all the ratios.
So just to wrap this conversation, despite a bit of muted numbers in the first quarter, you have not changing any of your FY26 guidance, and those are 20% plus loan growth, improving NIMs to 4.2%, bringing net NPA below 1%, and to improve ROA above 1.4%. So no change in this FY26 guidance.
And no, we are very much aligned towards this. Yeah.
Right. So, and what are those factors because of which you're so confident that you will be able to achieve this guidance for the rest of the financial year?
The main reason is, as I mentioned earlier, that normally, historically, this Q1 has been very slow for us because there is some part of seasonality, as we have 30% of our book is agri book. So this the way the disbursements have picked up in this quarter, and the way the clientele to which we are catering, the middle income group, the demand for MSME has increased, picked up. So we are very confident that we are very much aligned towards our guidance for the year.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Samra, for joining and sharing that outlook on the company. We will watch out for other quarters as well to see how the guidance numbers pans out. But let's shift focus to another management that is joining us, and this is Raju Engineers that we're talking about. A couple of key points in focus here. Firstly, the company just raised rupees 160 crore through its QIP route that we are looking at, and with this, if we look at the FII holding, that increased to 3.8%, even the DII holding has seen an improvement. In terms of how the company does, it is a manufacturing of plastic extrusion machinery that we are looking at. They also came out with their first quarter results, wherein we've seen about a 67% of an uptick in terms of the revenue. Margins also saw about a 785 basis points of an improvement, and net profit stood at 15 crore as compared to 5.5 crore. But to discuss more on the outlook of the company, even the results, the fundraise, we're joined in by Khushbu Doshi, MD of Raju Engineers. First of all, Mr. Doshi, thank you so much for joining and welcome to the show. My first question is about the fundraise which has taken place. Explain to us the key rationale behind this fundraise that we are looking at. Is it solely for the strategic acquisitions that you have in mind, or any other capacity expansion plans also that you will be utilizing these proceeds towards?
Yes, so thank you for having me here, and very glad to see you on this platform. So basically, the fundraising is mainly for the strategic inorganic growth which we are targeting, and so the 80% of the fund will go into that, and remaining 20% of the fund will be utilized for the future expansion at Raju Engineers.
Okay, can you specify more about these kind of expansion plans that you have in mind? In which particular segment are you aiming towards this?
Yeah, so if we are talking about the inorganic growth, we are trying to widen our product portfolio. So few of the products which we are not having currently at this point of time, but it will help us to add those 4 different products, which is in line with the extrusion machineries. And Raju would be offering that from now onwards. And another expansion plans which we have is we are expanding our capacity as far as the manufacturing setup is concerned. And so there are 8 different machining centers which are on way to Raju. We are installing those and enhancing our manufacturing capability as well.
Right, ma'am. This 160 crore that you have raised from investors, could you give us a sense of, could you give us some idea of who are these investors that have put in this money?
Yes, so mainly I would say that we are blessed to have the Morgan Stanley with us, and HSBC Bank. Apart from that, we have BNP Paribas and some other institutional investors have joined us for this thing.
Okay, so that is in terms of, the key participants that we are looking at. It's flashing on the screen as well. Now, you just spoke about the expansion plans, and it also included an investment of 30 crore earlier, which will increase the production to around 40%. Just want to get a sense on this. Is this additional production capacity of 40% already in place, or is there any kind of timelines that we are looking towards this?
So last time when we talked about the expansion, that was more on a land and building. And now the what-to-be expansion we are planning is for machining centers. So the actual manufacturing capacity would be increased by 35% in total.
Ma'am, also if you could give us some idea of how much revenue currently you generate from exports and how much you plan to, where do you see that number to be by the end of this financial year?
Yes, so the last year, the revenue stream coming from export was around 62 to 65%. And for this year, we would like to continue and reach up to a 65 to 67% in the same year.
So given the geopolitical issues that we have seen of late, any disruption or any cost increase that you have seen on exports front?
Not really. The cost increase, costs are pretty in control. In fact, the kind of geopolitical situation and the international tariffs are coming into the picture is creating an opportunity for manufacturers like us. So more of a technology coming to India and fraternity of this kind of a machinery looking for a partnership from India to reduce their cost and manufacturing expenses. And that's how it is really creating an opportunity for us in the coming days where more inorganic growth could be possible.
Kushbu, what are the key core markets that you have in terms of where these exports are concerned, and also if there is a margin difference in terms of where the domestic markets and the export markets are concerned? Give us a breakup in terms of that as well.
Yes, so the export market mainly we targets and our machines are going into the Africa, Latin America, of course Asia Pacific and Middle East is also. There is a small pie coming from the European countries as well. So these are the countries which has contributed into the last year growth, and that's where we would like to continue to have our focus in, because that's where the market is growing on. As far as the margins are, if we talk about the domestic market is extremely price sensitive, as we all know, but the export market gets us a good margin, and then it would be an improvement around 2 to 3% in coming quarters.
Okay, that's what I was hinting towards now. You know, in terms of the last 3-4 years, if we are looking at margins, 9 to 12% was the range that we had seen. Then in FY25, you clocked in about 18% of our margins. And the first quarter numbers as well, now it's a 20% plus of a mark that we are looking at. So what are supporting these margin expansion that we are looking at, and what is the kind of sustainable range that we should be looking towards FY26 or FY27 as well?
Okay, so the mainly contribution happening for the margin point of view is the high technology which was developed in last 2 to 3 years. So Raju has gone and now started competing with the European player in the global market, and that's where the enhancement in the existing product portfolio and also the new product which is being added in last 2 years, considering the renewable sector as well, which is contributing into the overall margin of the company.
Okay, and any margin guidance that you have in mind going forward?
It will be improving by 2.5% in coming days.
And also with that, how is revenue growth expected to shape up? Because this time we've seen about a 67% of an increase. Last 2 years, in just FY24-25, we've seen 20% of a jump. So what's the kind of sustainable range that we are looking for revenue growth?
We are seeing that 18 to 20% jump in the revenue, and the maintaining the same as the top line and bottom line would be really a doable thing.
Okay. Also, in terms of order book, I wanted to understand what's the kind of order pipeline do you have, and what's the total overall order book size that you have at the end of Q1 FY26?
FY26, okay. So the current order booking, pending order we have is around 450 CR, and that would be delivered by December 26. So if we talk about the March 26, we would be targeting to be in a range of around 325 to 335 as far as the top line is concerned.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us and explaining your business in detail. Moving on, Shriram Finance has reported its numbers. The net profit number seems to be close to 2,156 crore. Provisions have come in at close to 1,300, which is below what our estimates were of around 1,550. The net interest income, in fact, the calculated net interest income is close to 5,770 crore, below our estimates of 5,900 crore. Overall, the number seems to be below what the street has estimated, but it would be interesting to see how the stock reacts given the fact that in the last couple of sessions we have already seen more than 5% downtick in the share prices of Shriram Finance. Now it's been recovering from days low. It's down just 2.7%. At one point of time it was trading below 605 rupees. Currently it's at around 615. Provisions number, net interest income 5,773 as against the estimates of 5,950. And if you look at the net profit number, that has come in at close to 2,159, an uptick of 6% on a YOY basis. Last year this number was 2,030 crore rupees. Well, that's the number coming in from on Shriram Finance, and the stock has recovered around 10 rupees from the day's lowest point. Anushi, how is the other, any recovery that we are seeing when it comes to the benchmark? I guess around 50-60 points recovery from day's lowest point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is how the benchmark markets are faring out. You know, we've seen that some bit of recovery, but let's also address some other stocks which are reacting on the back of earnings that we are looking at. And the stock in focus is Tatva Chintan that we'll be seeing. It's up over 16% in trade currently 15% up. Varsha joins us with all the details on this one. But before we go to Varsha, you know, let me just address this quickly in itself. Now, Tatva Chintan, what we are looking at as key highlights over here, operational performance, if we have seen, is better than expected. Even if you look at growth, that was aided by volume growth as well as prices remaining stable. Now, EBITDA also improvement that we are looking is in terms of the operating leverage that we are seeing. But Varsha, talk to us about more on this front.
Yeah, so you know, good numbers, you know, when it comes to Tatva Chintan, and this is after so many quarters considering the chemical industry, the pressure in the chemical industry. You know, if you see, the growth was aided by volume growth, and though prices remain stable for the company, EBITDA improvement is led by operating leverage that the company has seen, and the export share, if you see, rose to 71% in Q1 FY26. Now, this is if you see the last year, the export accounted for almost 61%. So huge, you know, growth or from the contribution from the export. Now over to the four numbers. If I want to talk about, revenue rises almost 11%, EBITDA is up 38%, margins were at 15% versus 12% last year. Huge uptick there because of the operating leverage benefits that the company has got, and net profit was up 28%. Let's see what management has to say, you know, because they've given the guidance when it comes to FY26. So they're expecting growth of around 25% when it comes to revenue, with 20% of EBITDA margin, and FY27 revenue growth is expected at 20 to 25% with stable 20% of EBITDA margin. They're confident in achieving this 20% for FY26 despite, if you see, 15% of margin in Q1. And the capex guidance, if I were to talk about, is almost 1.1 billion for FY26, and the new block for agro intermediates is expected to come online, and also the SDA capacity utilization is expected to reach 80% in FY26, because this was the segment where company was having problems. Now this seems to be sorted. And lastly, if you see, the SDA growth guidance is in 40 to 70% for FY26. So overall, you know, good set of numbers, but we need to also see how company will perform in Q2, because that's where, you know, we're gonna gain some confidence. Okay, now the growth will be structural. But overall, if you see, considering the management outlook and the numbers that the company has present, it seems that the recovery is on the path.
Okay, thank you for that, Varsha. So that's all the view that we are seeing for Tatva Chintan stock roaring and trade today. But you know, despite the 15% of an uptick that we are seeing for this counter, overall market breadth, if we are looking at, is in the negative, is what we are seeing. In fact, benchmark indices, as we just earlier pointed out, is seeing cuts of around 0.8%. This is in terms of benchmark that we are seeing. Quickly pulling up the advanced decline ratio also to see an overall breadth of how the market is seeming. So currently declines 1,800, and this is in contrast of advances over 360 that we are looking at. So largely in favor of red is what we are seeing. In fact, let me quickly pull up the sectoral indices as well. In terms of where the sectors are concerned, Nifty Pharma and Healthcare, the only ones in green that we are looking at. Cipla positive, that is what we are seeing in terms of how the numbers are shaping up for the counter. But you know, that's all the time that we had on this edition of Profit Top Trades. Do stay tuned to India Market Close coming up next.
Welcome viewers. This is a call for Disruptor show flight, dated 25th July.
During my childhood days, we used to rely on rations. My mom used to tell me, go and stand in the queue immediately. Queues is something which I think every Indian is used to.
You've come from this background where you've had to stand in queue for rations. How do you become the CEO of Dijatra?
Why should there be so much of friction in availing a service? And from that perspective, I think this whole thought process of Dijatra began. We were asked, to write a memorable journey experience for the passenger. And I wrote this very simple story saying that, passenger just walks through all the touch points and nobody stops him or her for anything.
The initial teething troubles, talk a bit about that, including the vendor that you had for the back end of this entire process. There were questions on transparency. There were a lot of questions on safety. Why should I give my biometrics to a government agency?
We ran the startup challenge. We had a 6 startup shortlist. 2 of them were offered to build. One of them went ahead and built this ecosystem. And yes, we had a parting of ways.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है.
मैडम एक बात, खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
हेलो बोलिए मैडम, डब्बा ट्रेडिंग कब से चल रहा है पता है मैडम आपको? हम और आप तो जन्म भी नहीं हुआ था हमारा.
We investigated a shady advisory firm that has spent big bucks on advertising on the front pages of national dailies.
ये आपको बिल्कुल उसका ऐसे हल्का सा भी खौफ नहीं है.
मैडम एक बात, खौफ किस लिए रखना चाहिए तो बताओ, कौन सा गलत काम कर रहा हूँ मैं?
After our report, we also saw NSE came out with a cautionary circular to the investors. Market Regulator Securities and Exchange Board of India has also come out with a release talking about the actions that it has taken. Cyber complaint has also been filed against the entities involved in this entire Dabba trading scam.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world.
Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
Do you really know the company you invest in? Hello and welcome. We are in the thick of earnings. Numbers flashing at the bottom of your screen. We have Orient Electric whose numbers are coming in. But let's not digress there. We've pointed out to that. Let's look at where we are, where the Nifty 50 is concerned. And 0.75% lower, so there's pain clearly visible here. Around 190 odd points lower. And if we pull up the intraday, we're just off the day's lows. A bit of a fall that we saw has been fully bought into as we speak. So 24,800 is the low we've made, 24,806, and of course a host of new levels that we'll have to look out for, and maybe we'll speak with a couple of our guests about that. But let's talk about the stocks on the Nifty, and the heat map itself reflects that the breadth is extremely weak, though it's recovered a wee bit from the lows. So Cipla is the top gainer, SBI Life as well on the back of numbers, Dr. Reddy's for a second straight day up 1% or thereabouts, HDFC Life maybe riding a bit on SBI Life's numbers as well. So that one also doing fairly well for itself. Bajaj Finance is the top loser along with the Bajaj Auto. Not too far is an IndusInd Bank and an Infosys. So some pain continues within that IT pack. Let's pull up the sectoral indices as well and that'll give us some better perspective. Media, energy within the broader markets, defense is a clear pain point. IT is down 1.25%, so is auto. So some of the larger cap indices taking a bit of a brunt today in trade, and that is reflecting not just on the Nifty 50, it's also reflecting in broader markets. The Nifty Pharma though, 0.75% higher, so that one's really standing out on a day like this. The Nifty Realty is outperforming the index but still down around 0.5% thereabouts. So that's how it's shaping up. The Nifty Bank is down nearly 1% as well. So a lot of that drag is coming in from some of the larger sectors, IT, auto, bank and FMCG. All of them seeing some cuts in trade today. Now let me look at the advanced decline as well on the NSE, on the exchange, and this is not looking good, of course, which is what is leading to pain in the broader markets. Let's look at the broader market indices, 1.4% lower now on the Nifty mid cap, so some real pain building in as we close today. And the Nifty small cap is down nearly 2% now in trade. So we're very, very close to the day's low, just off it, and there's just no sign of recovery at this point, Neeraj.
Yeah, I mean, select pockets might be doing well. The likes of Nifty Pharma, by the way, and Cipla, led by Cipla. I think the intraday of those names will show you that pharmaceuticals have an okay day, but the rest of the markets, no. Cipla, look at that sharp up move, at 3.75% higher, and Nifty Pharma per se looking okay. But Chennai Petro, not the best of numbers, down about 7.5%. APL Apollo, numbers, guidance, etc., 7.2% lower in trade. UTI AMC, for all the fanfare around the numbers, down 5%. Massive quarter-on-quarter expansion in margins, but that stock is down 5% in trade. So that's not looking all that great. On the flip side, I mean, just a few gainers. IEX has bounced back. Will it get out of the FNO ban today? And therefore, Monday will be a key one. So that's one to watch out for. Strength in Anantraj because of the numbers, so that's done okay for itself. And Sarma SGS amongst others, which is up about 2%, alongside Trident, by the way, margin expansion there, and that stock to is up about 2% in trade. Amardev Singh, Senior VP Research at Angel One Johnson, right now on the show. Amar, good having you. Thanks for joining in. Is the market breaking key levels which will make you believe there is more downside, or has it corrected enough from those 25,500 odd levels for it to warrant a bounce back? Because when I look at the put call ratio, when I look at the VIX, etc., some indicators suggest that maybe we could be in oversold levels as well.
Yeah, I would say that you are right, definitely right there, that we have seen some decent correction happening in the benchmark indices from almost 25,700 levels. Nifty is down to 24,850. I've been saying for last at least few days that technically, if you look at a couple of indicators are extremely negative from a short-term perspective. That's the reason why we are not able to see that the markets are able to sustain at higher levels. And also, I would say quarterly earnings definitely is one of those reasons. Reliance sell-off in Reliance also is one of those reasons which has been there, and lack of fresh triggers. So, and investors also getting into some sort of profit booking mode was the sharp up move. So what I see is that somewhere around 24,800 is a very important level, because if we look at it, it was taking very strong support around those levels, and even earlier also, if we go down. So if we look at more from a range perspective, I would say 24,700, 24,800, that's a very crucial and important zone of support. If Nifty is able to take support and bounce back. But yes, one thing is very clear, that even if there is a bounce back, Nifty is definitely going to meet with selling pressure at higher levels, and those levels would be around 25,000, 25,100, 200. That should act as a very important key zone of resistance. So from a short-term perspective, yes, we could see more of selling on rallies, and till the time we don't see a breach below 24,700, I would say we are still there. But I've been speaking about this for some time, that one of the short-term technical indicators is very negative. So that clearly gives way that any pullback is not likely to sustain. And if I look at from a intermediate term perspective, we are still to see if how the closing of the week is there. But more or less, we are towards the end of the week and closing. So any close below 24,800 levels could mean that we could witness 300-400 points further correction if 24,700 is breached. As far as some of the other indicators which you are also talking about, the advanced decline, that's a very important and leading indicator. That also has been quite negative. So I would say that one needs to be slightly cautious, but overall, I don't see much of a cause of concern till the time we see Nifty breach the 24,700 consistently.
24,700, so not enough concern. Well, the nature of that answer tells you, right, that it deserves so much of an explanation simply because the market is poised or kind of looking delicate the last couple of days. Amar, what are the ideas? Let's first get those stock ideas out of the way.
Yeah, so there are two stock ideas. I would say one is from the pharma space. We've seen the pharma space holding quite firm, and Lupin is definitely one of them. What we've seen in Lupin is that the stock has been consolidating. It really hasn't witnessed a significant rally. It corrected since January. I would say it has corrected from almost 2,400 levels to 1,900 levels, and now it's formed a base. So there is a very high possibility that we could see an up move here. It's been strong for the last couple of days. So this is one stock one can look at. Lupin buying at the current levels for an upside target of 2,037 and a stop loss of 1,893. Because as I said, that it seems that the stock has formed a strong base. The other stock is from the financials, and that is HDFC Life. So what we are seeing here in HDFC Life is that the stock did correct from almost 840 levels. It had corrected 820 levels to be precise. From there, it had corrected all the way towards 730. Now, for the last few days, we've seen the stock inch higher. And also, if you look at the structure of the stock from an intermediate term perspective, from a long-term perspective, that continues to remain positive and strong. So I would say that this is another stock one can look at buying around the current levels are towards 760 with a stop loss of 729 and upside target of 830.
Okay, so that's with regard to the picks. Also, let's quickly though switch focus. Cipla kicks off FY26, steady Q1 performance. They've posted a 10% rise in net profit. Varsha joins us with all of the details with regard to where a Cipla is concerned. Varsha.
Yeah, thank you so much for